Bus driver Judy Greenlee is suing fellow bus driver David Smith for backing into her car with his bus. David claims he didn't do it.
All rise. Now, this is case number 169 on the calendar in the matter of Greenlee versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Greenlee, there was a time last year when you and Mr. Smith were employed by the same bus company, a school bus company. And it is your claim that while you were out doing your route, Mr. Smith backed a school bus into your parked car and then took off, damaging your car. You want him to pay for the damage to the car and other related expenses. Mr. Smith says he never touched your car, and he is counterclaiming because he says because you filed these charges against him, he was humiliated at work, he was arrested on the job, and he was ultimately acquitted of those charges. Did you have a trial?
No. The police officer dropped everything.
Okay. And told you to proceed civilly, I assume. So he's got a counterclaim. When did this incident happen with your car?
January 12th of 2004.
And at what time did you leave that day on your bus?
6:30 a.m.
When did you return to the yard?
Approximately 8:15 a.m.
When did you look at your car?
As soon as I got back to the garage.
And what did you discover?
I discovered a dent, and there was rub marks from where my paint had been rubbed off. Of part of
Do you have photographs of it?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the photographs.
And I also have a videotape of the bus actually hitting the vehicle. There's the videotape.
So your car is red?
No, my car is orange.
Orange?
Yes.
Okay. Orange.
Orange.
I assume before you looked at the video, you conducted your own investigation. According to what I read here, a little bit of an investigation on your own. You went around looking at all the buses
Yes.
and didn't find any of them with any damage.
No.
So what did you do next?
We went on our afternoon routes. David's the only bus that did not come back to the garage that morning. So when we both drove at the same elementary school. He was off of his bus, and I went and I seen the orange paint and the rub mark on the back of the bus. My husband was actually up at the transportation director's office speaking with him, told him the damages I found.
Okay. Don't tell me what your husband said. That's hearsay. But you saw orange paint
Yes.
on Mr. Smith's bus.
Yes.
Did you speak to him?
No.
All right, Mr. Smith. Now tell me your version of what happened that morning.
I got in my bus around 6:40. I backed my bus up. I had another bus that was to the left of me that I couldn't clear, so I had to get off my bus because my two-way radio did not work on my bus. Got off my bus, went and asked the backup so I could go around. I did my route.
So it's your claim that at no time did you hit Miss Greenlee's car.
No, ma'am.
Now, you were subsequently arrested.
The police come to my work to arrest me for hit and run, but my boss asked them before they arrested me to go and watch the videotape at the transportation office. So my two bosses, the transportation director, the police officer, and myself, all went down. We watched the videotape. The police officer watched the tape twice. He come out, told me he was not going to arrest me.
Just a second, did you watch the tape with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what do you mean he came out and told you? What is
He
that?
watched it twice. The first time we watched it together.
Yes.
The second time he watched it with the transportation director. Then he come out and said he was not going to arrest me, he was not going to write me a citation, that he would let the insurance companies deal with it.
Okay, can I see the videotape, please?
As you can see, David's entering the bus. Starts backing up. He's having trouble maneuvering the bus back. Stops and pulls up. As you can see, my vehicle to the left. He keeps
That's your
backing.
car? Is that
yes.
your car?
Yes. He keeps backing.
But there was no
There is
contact made.
point of impact. Pulls emergency brake. Apparently gets off of the bus for 14 seconds to see what he has hit.
Well, there's certainly a shadow back there now that I see.
Yes. Gets back on the bus and proceeds to take off.
Okay, if I hit the vehicle, why do I sit there for 30 seconds before I pull off?
What are you asking me a question for, Mr. Smith? That wasn't a bus back there. That was a car.
Yes.
What you told me a moment ago, Mr. Smith, was that there was a bus behind you
There-
that There was a bus that prohibited you from making a turn. You got off and you spoke to the bus driver and asked her to move. I saw no other bus back there,
The bus
sir.
was to my left.
I saw a car that you came dangerously close to if you didn't hit it.
Yes, ma'am. What I'm saying is I couldn't make my clearance. That's when I got off my bus to go ask the lady if she could back up so I could go and make my clearance to the left.
Not a big deal, Mr. Smith. You just should have accepted responsibility and said, it was a total accident. I didn't mean to hit your car. I will certainly pay for the damage. And be finished with it. Instead
I
of
didn't
making...
hit her.
You did! You hit her car.
No, I did not.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Unfortunately, we have electronics to establish it.
If you look at the tape like the police officer did, you will see I did not hit her car.
You think his eyes are better than mine?
No, you just have to pay close attention to the tape.
Sir, you have something from the police officer that says that you didn't hit her car?
No, ma'am.
You have a statement from the police officer, even though it's hearsay, which says, listen, tell your insurance companies to take care of it. This isn't worth my arresting you for hit and run. Nobody was injured. You're two reasonable people, working people. Let your insurance companies take care of it. That's what the police officer said. He didn't say that you didn't hit her car. Okay, can I see your estimates on having your car fixed, please? Did you have your car fixed?
Yes, I did.
Good. You're not working for the same bus company anymore?
No, ma'am.
Right, good. What year car was this?
2003. I purchased it 6 months prior to it being hit.
Did you receive insurance coverage for it?
Yes. My insurance company paid for it because approximately 14 days after the accident, the bus company's insurance said they could not find who was at fault because they never requested the tape.
Well, what was your deductible?
$450. And then I also had to get a rental car, and that total was $138.57. And I have my
Why
credit
are you
card.
suing him for $5,000?
For the deductible, the rental car, the actual damages to pay back the insurance company because my rates are going up because of the accident, and also $2,801.94 in punitive damages for the stress, the mental anguish that I went through over a year and a half of dealing with this incident.
Unfortunately, you don't get paid for that. So your deductible was $450?
Yes.
And you rented a car for $138?
Yes.
It's $588. Could have resolved the whole thing.
I don't owe her a dime.
You do too.
I do
You
not.
hit her car.
I did not
And
hit her car.
And it may, Mr. Smith, be giving you the benefit of the doubt because this didn't look to me as if this was this kind of crash. It looked as if the bus was going very slowly and maybe you just eased into it with the bumper.
But if you could see the damage, even if I eased into it, it's not going to cause that much damage.
You have an expert that's going to testify to that, sir?
I can get one.
What did you think you were coming here for, a tea party today? This is it. You've been hucking around with this lady for well over a year.
No,
Pay her the $588. That's what you owe her. You were wrong. Say, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I know that that's sometimes hard, but that's what men do. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I should have resolved it then. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may.
Billy Tyler says his daughter, Tiffany Cantrell, had him falsely arrested for stealing her car.
Mr. Tyler, the defendant is your daughter, and it is your claim that she had you falsely arrested for stealing her car. Your daughter says that you did exercise control over that car without her permission. She had every right to notify the police that you had, in fact, taken the car without permission. So let me start with you, Miss Cantrell. I understand that you are married.
Yes, ma'am.
Your husband is in the armed services.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is he currently located?
He's in Afghanistan.
And how long has he been there?
He's been deployed since October.
This car was originally purchased for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how it came about that your father got the car in his possession.
The car was on my grandmother's property, and he took it because he was angry that my mom had left him.
Where did you get the car from, Mr. Tyler?
Judge, I originally bought the car in Cleveland, Alabama at a car auction.
What do you mean you bought the car?
I was there to buy some cars, and my ex-wife had called her, and she came over to the auction. And she seen the car, and she said, I'd like to have this for Kevin, her husband.
Who paid for the car?
She did.
So that
She
she
wrote a
bought the
check.
car.
She
You
wrote-
didn't pay for the car.
No, she
Well,
wrote
you
a
said,
check.
I bought the car
Well,
at an auction.
I
You
meant,
didn't-
Judge, that I was there to buy the car, and she wanted it, so I let her have it. That's how.
You were at an auction to buy several cars. Your daughter
Yes.
came with you. She saw a car that she wanted. She wrote out the check
She
for it.
bought-
So she
she-
bought the car.
Right.
Don't play
Right.
with me, Mr. Tyler.
Okay, I'm not, Judge.
I guarantee you
Okay.
it's not going to happen. Okay, so your daughter bought a car, and according to her, she parked it at her grandmother's house.
No, Judge.
Where was it?
It was in my yard.
So it was in the yard of the house where you were living?
Uh-huh.
Who were you living there with?
My ex-wife.
Anybody else?
My cousin.
What's the address of this house?
77, Highway 75.
And is that where the car was taken from?
No, ma'am.
Where was it taken from?
71, Highway 75.
That's where your grandmother lives?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you live next door to your mother-in-law?
That's my mother, Judge.
Your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Was the car parked at her house at any time?
No, Judge.
Okay. How did it come about that you took control over this car?
When the car was bought, it was to be brought to my house to fix for Kevin. And at the time, Judge, they were going to pay for it to be fixed. And Kevin had gotten hurt and come home. And Kevin asked me when he was home if I would keep the car at my house until he came back and fix what it needed. And when I get home, I'll pay you for it.
Okay.
So we had a windshield put in it. When you walk out my back door, it was sitting right there with a car cover on it. Then, Judge, when my ex-wife left...
Okay, so you separated.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
It's a long story behind it.
Let's put it simply. Ultimately wanted the car.
To give to her mom, because I wouldn't let her mom
Just a
have
second.
one.
In whose name was the car titled?
Mine.
Yours.
And my husband's.
So she said, I want the car. I'm going to give it to Mama.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I had told her prior to this that me and Sammy was going to fix the car. He would do. He told me, he said, if you'll pay for the parts, I'll do the labor, and when Kevin comes home, we'll give it to him. And Judge, that's what I had in mind doing.
I don't care what you had in mind, sir.
I
don't care what you had in mind. I got the gist of it. You and her mother separated, and she said, I want the car to give to Mama.
Right.
I assume that's because her mother didn't have a car.
Right. And
okay, and you said no.
And not unless you pay me.
Okay, so now you want to be paid before Kevin came back from Afghanistan.
Well, if she was going to take it. Okay.
You had made an arrangement with Kevin that he would pay you for the parts when he came back from Afghanistan.
Yes, ma'am.
That was your contract.
Yes, ma'am.
So now you're changing the contract because now you want to get paid right away.
Well, the car was to stay there, Judge, till he came home.
No. It can go anywhere that the owner says it can go.
But he told me to keep it there until
But then you spoke to him again and he said to give it to her.
No, he called on the phone,
I said you spoke to him again and he said to give it to my wife.
If she pays.
No.
Yeah.
He said give it to my wife.
If she pays the labor to Sammy, not the parts. But just the labor.
Labor to Sammy has nothing to do with you.
Right.
What did you do with the car?
Well, a couple of days there, the car winded up. You could tell where it had tried to be broken into. Not for sure who done it. We took it and put it in storage.
Not we. You.
Well, me and my cousin. He had done the labor on it, Judge, and I'd paid for the parts.
Did you tell her where it was?
Yes, I told her I'd put it in storage, and when she paid us, she could get it. There was a labor lien against it. And she wanted proof of it, Judge, so I sent her proof of it.
Let me see what you mailed her.
And read. May I speak, Judge?
No, now it's her turn.
Okay.
Go ahead.
When they sent this letter, they did send the letter, but it was not sent until after the investigator had called and spoke with him about my car.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I have the report. And
Can I see the report,
yes,
please? That's interesting, because you send her this ridiculous note that says, I have in my possession a Pontiac Firebird, and there is a $10 storage fee on it. And then you change the amount of repair bill. It looks like you put first it was $1,300, then it was $700. I don't know. Can't figure this out. And you say if you don't respond within 90 days, the car will be sold at public auction. Now this, I don't know what date this is, but she signed for it on May 23rd, because she allegedly sent this by certified mail. But she filed this incident report on the 16th of May, which is before you sent this letter to her. So the police contacted you. Put your hand down. Police contacted you and said, where's the car?
Probably.
Or they contacted Sammy.
No, they come out and contacted me.
Oh, there you go. And then you sent her this letter.
Judge, the officer, the day he came out, he wanted a copy of that letter. The day the officer come out and talked.
It's absolutely impossible, sir, because you dated this letter May 17th. That was the next day after the officer took this complaint.
Judge, he didn't come out the day he took the complaint.
I don't care whether he came out and took the complaint on that day or not. It doesn't make any difference, sir.
Okay.
What I'm telling you is,
Okay.
I got the whole story. You know what the whole story is? You were mad at your ex-wife.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't want her to have a car. Don't shake your head no to me. You were angry. You didn't want her to have a car.
I didn't.
And you had worked on this car. And when your daughter said, I'm going to give this car to Mama to use because you're not giving her a car, you said, over my dead body. Because I was going to give it to Kevin, but I won't give it to the woman who I've lived with for the last, I don't know how many years, 30 years?
24, Judge.
24, and raised a bunch of children with how many children?
4.
4 children. I'm not going to give it to her because I don't like her. I like this stranger, now husband of my child, and I'd give him for nothing, but I'm not giving it to my ex-wife because who the hell does she think she is throwing me out?
You're right.
Well, that's too damn bad. You had no right. That's too bad, Mr. Tyler. Mr. Tyler.
She took it all and give it to a man one time. She ain't going to do it again.
Listen to me, Mr. Tyler. I don't know the reason after 24 years and raising 4 children with somebody that they say, I don't want to live with him anymore. I'm not going back over that. I don't know whether you were a good husband, whether you were not a good husband, whether you were a kind person to her, whether she was a kind person to you. I have no idea.
She's the one who left.
She may have had good reason. Let me tell you something about most women. And how old is your wife?
42.
Most women, if they have a loving mate, someone who cherishes them and cares for them,
Some of them appreciate it.
I'm speaking, and treat them well, they don't say, I'd rather go it alone. See, sometimes men do, because, you know, men will turn around and they'll say, well, I can find somebody who's 20. What do I need? This 42-year-old who's raised my 4 children. Now, your wife must not be a bad person, because her daughter says, I'm going to let you use this car if Daddy won't give you a car. So evidently, uncross your hands. Your wife may have taken your attitude for 24 years. I don't. What I'm telling you is you had no right to take that car and put it in a place where she couldn't find it. And you didn't do it because you put a mechanic's lien on it. You did it because you were PO'd at your wife. And that you had no right to do. You had no right to exercise dominion and control over a car that did not belong to you. Now, your daughter, as far as I'm concerned, should not have gone to the police, should have tried to settle this matter civilly. But then again, you took your mother's side in this altercation. Yeah, you felt badly for her.
Somewhat, yes, ma'am.
You felt badly for her. So, in a family situation, should she have gone to the police? Probably not. Did she have a legal right to go to the police because you exercised dominion and control over her car? Absolutely. Don't say no. She did. And what they found when they found you not guilty wasn't because you weren't guilty of exercising control over the car, sir. What they said was, this is really a family matter, and we're not going to find you guilty of a criminal act because what you were really doing was acting vindictive. And we're not going to get involved with that. So, sir, she had the legal right, put your hand down, she had a legal right to call the police to make a police report that she no longer had a car that was titled in her name and that you had.
Even though she had brought the car down there and told me to fix it.
Listen to me, sir. You can't trip over your own words. What you said to me 10 minutes ago was, it was your intention to fix the car. First, you said you were going to make a gift to Kevin when he came back from Afghanistan. Then you changed that and you said, well, I spoke to him and he said to me the parts when he came back from Afghanistan. She never told you she would pay you for anything unless you're going to change your story again.
Judge,
Right. You have no case, Mr. Tyler. Grow up. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused and they step out.
Scott Sanders says ex-girlfriend Courtney Braccio owes for the return of an iPod and for an unpaid loan. Courtney admits that Scott gave her the money, but claims it was never a loan.
Mr. Sanders, who is this young lady?
This is my daughter, Caitlin.
Okay. This is your complaint. I assume it's really about a loan that you made to her.
It's about both, ma'am, the iPod and the money.
You were dating,
Not at the time, we were not dating.
but you were friends.
Yes.
You had been dating, then you remained friends. So you claim a loan of an iPod and then a loan of some cash because she said that she was financially strapped.
Yes, ma'am.
And she has 2 children. You felt sorry for her, so you loaned her some money. She has not paid you back that money, nor, according to you, returned the iPod. When did you have a relationship with her, and when was that over?
The relationship started online in a chat room back in January of '06. We actually started seeing each other approximately April of '06, and We quit the physical part of the relationship in approximately October of 06. We remained friends. There was a situation where she was actually living with somebody else, and I was not comfortable with her constantly saying she was going to leave this guy, leave this guy. I said, you know, I ain't doing this anymore then. You got to, or get off the pot. She didn't, so I made a decision, you know, we'll be friends. She talked about, to myself and my daughter, she cared about me, she wanted us to be together. I said, well, you know, when you decide to move on, let me know. And we continued to be friends, talked on the phone, online quite a bit. And that December, I had come into some money, and I decided to buy myself things I'd wanted for a long time.
Okay, so in December of 06, one of the things you bought yourself was an iPod.
Yep.
Okay, when did you give it to her?
The day I bought it, I was in Grand Rapids, where she lived. We live about 35 minutes apart.
The day you bought it, you gave it to her in December of 2006.
Yes. I am not computer savvy. I said, you know, I got this thing, I want it, but I'm not sure how to get music on it. I've got a friend, he can download this. She knows a lot more about this stuff than I did.
What took you a year and a half to get the iPod back?
Well, she claimed it was stolen in January of 07 out of her car.
Just a second. What took you a year and a half to sue her?
I actually decided to sue her in January of this past year, a year later.
Why?
Because she continually did not pay me back.
Just a second.
Yes.
You're his daughter?
Yeah.
How old are you?
11.
Do you have an iPod?
No.
Does your dad have an iPod?
I don't know.
Does your dad have an iPod?
Yes.
I have an iPod?
Shh. Just.
Sorry, Your Honor.
That's what she said.
I don't have an iPod.
Then you don't need one. If in December of 06 you bought an iPod and a month later she told you that the iPod was stolen, and this is something that you always wanted, Mr. Sander, listen to me very carefully, sir. If something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. You sure you want your daughter here?
Absolutely.
Fine. If one of the things that you purchased, one of the things you always wanted in your whole life was an iPod, and you purchased it in December of 06, and you gave it to her in December of 06, and she said it was lost in January of 07, and you claim now, she says no, but you claim now that you do not have another iPod, an adult like you would have replaced it in the year and a half that you didn't have it if it was something that you always wanted in your whole life, because, Mr. Sander, they're not that expensive. I just bought 3 of them as gifts. They're very cheap. You would have, in the last year and a half, replaced it. Let's get on with the loan, sir, which is where I wanted to go at the beginning.
Well, ma'am, that's
Let's get on with the loan.
She promised to pay me back for that
Let's get on
iPod.
with the loan.
I have the information where she promised, ma'am.
Let's get on with the loan.
Very well.
When was the loan?
There were 5 loans made.
Starting when?
In January of 07.
How much?
The total was, I don't have the total actually written down in front of me. It was around $700.
You're coming to court. You're supposed to be prepared, Mr. Sander.
Well, I have all the dates on the loans were made.
Can I see his bank statements?
I had to withdraw cash. She does not have a checking account. She asked me to give her cash. If Your Honor will notice, all the loans.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
What are all these checks?
Those are just part of the statement on that particular month. I only pay my bills by check. Everything else I use a debit or a credit card on. I have no reason to withdraw cash.
Everybody has a reason to withdraw cash, sir. How much money did he give you?
I would say a couple hundred, like maybe 3 or so. It wasn't 700. I know that.
Well, you have outlined, dating back to January of 07, $950 without the fees.
You also notice, Your Honor, that I live in Muskegon. Those were all on Alpine in Grand Rapids near her hometown. I was there seeing her, loaning her the money, except for the one on Sherman Avenue, which is in Muskegon. I was on my way there. I stopped by my bank.
You say you have proof that she acknowledges the loan of this money.
My daughter overheard conversations on my side of it where I said, let's get together, we need to talk about you paying me back. The agreement was once she got a job. She didn't get a job until October of 07. And I said, take a month to get on your feet. I understand. That's fine, but you've got to start paying me back this money.
Go ahead.
My daughter and her were close at one time. And finally in January of 08, we went to where she worked, had a conversation where, again, she promised to come over to my daughter and myself. No call, no show. And that's when I said, I'm done waiting for this. This is the next course I got to take.
Okay. Go ahead.
I don't know. He did give me money, but I didn't say I'd pay him back. And he has stalked me before, and it kind of creeped me out. So that's why I think...
Do you take care of children?
I have 2 kids. Yes.
You take care of them?
Yes, I have them every day.
How old are they?
My oldest will be 4, my youngest is 2.
And where is their father?
He works.
Does he live with you?
Not now, no.
And where are your parents?
My mom lives by me. My dad's dead. My mom is around. She actually watches my kids every day while I work.
Okay, Mr. Sander, forget the iPod that you gave her in December as an early Christmas present. She owes you $800. That's what you're suing for. I think that you probably made a big mistake.
That goes without saying, Your Honor.
Okay, so you seem like an intelligent man. And what do you do for a living?
The money I got was through a back injury. I can no longer work, and I do boat rehabbing now. We buy, myself and a partner buy boats, fix them up, and resell them. That's about it.
Make a living at that?
Not really, but it's a hobby. I can work at my own pace. My back limits me to what I can do every day. I mean, I can work 15 minutes, sit down for 20, work 15, sit down for 20. So it's kind of at my own pace, and it's kind of nice. And it keeps me out of the house because walls start creeping in when you're there all the time because you can't really do anything.
You get disability?
I've applied for SS, Social Security.
If you can build boats, sir, you're not going to get disability insurance. You understand that? Yeah, right. Boat builders usually don't get disability insurance. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. That's all.
Thank you.
Bail bondsman Aaron McAllister says former client Elena Zadevich owes for unpaid bail money.
What were you arrested for, Mr. Zadevich?
I was arrested on false charges of domestic violence that my ex filed against me.
I didn't ask you whether they were true or not true. I asked, what were you arrested for?
I was arrested on allegations of domestic violence.
Was it the first time you were arrested?
Yes.
Look at me. Was
Yes.
it the first time you were arrested? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Better. When was the first time you were arrested?
Several years ago.
Having nothing to do with domestic violence.
Has something to do with domestic violence.
So you have 2 arrests for domestic violence?
That's correct.
Was it the same complainant in each case?
Different.
Different. Okay. You are a bail bondsman?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your claim that you received a call from the defendant in jail. You responded. You bailed her out of jail. At her request, she promised to pay for the bond. She did not. You want your money.
Yes.
Defendant says you're a sleazy bail bondsman and she's not paying you.
Correct.
When did you receive the call?
Sometime in the middle of the night from the county jail.
What night? I'm not Karnak. What night would
I'm
you
sorry.
like to tell me it is?
July the 15th.
In the middle of the night. You were home?
Correct. In bed.
How did you get his number?
It was posted on the wall in the county jail.
Do you have your home number posted in the wall in county jail?
No, ma'am. It's an office number that forwards to my cell phone in the evening and weekends.
I see. I wouldn't think that you'd want your house phone
No.
to have a number. Okay. What did the defendant say to you when she called?
That she was in jail and she had to get out. She had to get to work the next morning. If she didn't get out, she would lose her job.
What kind of job do you have?
I'm an executive assistant
For whom?
for a small media startup.
How long have you had that job?
Close to a year,
10 months?
something like that.
Where did you work before?
I was managing a medical spa,
Where?
Walnut Creek, California.
Okay. Have any family here?
Just my 2 children,
How old are they?
6 and 2,
They live with you?
part-time.
Who do they live with the other part of the time?
Well, my son lives with, my daughter part-time lives with her paternal family.
Maternal or paternal?
Paternal.
Paternal. So the father's family, father's parents with her grandparents?
No, his brother and his family, they live very close by, about 10-minute drive from where I live, and she's there a lot because I work full-time.
Okay. So you had to get to work at the media startup company when you called him?
Correct.
Did you tell him that you were going to take care of paying his bail?
What happened was I told him that I didn't have any money.
No, no, no. When you
Yeah.
called him on the phone from jail, you told him I don't have any money?
Correct.
Is that right?
No.
Of course not.
Right. I wouldn't.
Of course not, because if you tell you, please bail me out of jail, but I don't have any money, and he doesn't know you from a hole in the wall, he's not getting out of his warm bed in the middle of the night. Madam.
Well, he did.
No, no, no. He did. The question was, did you tell him that you didn't have any money?
Yes, I did.
He says you didn't, and I'm saying I believe him that at that time you didn't tell him I have no money. Because if he's in business and he gets a call from a stranger, you are a stranger, right?
Correct.
That I want you to get up out of bed, drive over to the jail and bail me out. But by the way, I have no money. He'd say, call somebody else.
That's exactly what I said.
All right. I don't believe you. Go ahead.
We discussed that she had a CD, and the CD was maturing within the next 30 days, and that there would be ample
That she would have money.
Correct. In the CD to pay me out of the proceeds of the CD. And she didn't want to cash it in early because she didn't want to pay the penalty. I agreed to those terms within 30 days that she would use the CD.
Was this on the telephone?
That was on the telephone.
Okay. Because you did ask her the question about money.
Correct.
And when you said, do you have money, what did she say?
I have a CD.
Okay. So, did you tell her how much the bail would be?
Correct. 10%, $5,000.
Because she had $50,000 bail?
Correct.
That's a high bail for domestic violence.
It is.
Do you know why it was so high?
That's per the schedule in that county. That's always $50,000 for a felony charge.
It was a felony.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So we get her out. We memorialize our agreement in writing. She
Can I
signs
see it, please?
a bail contract and the agreement to pay.
Can I see it, please? Okay, so you signed an agreement to pay him the $5,000.
I had no choice. He made me sign it.
But
Madam,
listen to me very carefully, madam. You have a choice. Your choice is to stay in jail until the matter on which you were arrested for is tried. That's your choice. You chose.
We had a different agreement.
No, no, no. This is your agreement. This in here is your agreement, in the four corners of this agreement. And what I asked you was, did you sign this agreement? And the answer is either yes or no, not
Yes,
I was forced to sign.
I did sign that agreement, but aside from that, there was an oral agreement that took place between me and Mr. McAllister.
I'll get to you in a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Once the agreement's signed, I get her out of jail. She says, now what do? I live 30 minutes from here. I agreed to give her a ride. She's worried about getting to work, so I give her a ride. And it's about 30 minutes away. So during that time, she tells me the entire story about the arrest, and I attempt to be understanding that, you know, she was arrested, and I'm sorry, and that's a bad thing, and you're dealing with a breakup, and, you know, how she caught her boyfriend with his new girlfriend laying on the couch that she paid for or she picked out. And the entire time in the car,
Would you look at me when you're telling me this story, Mr. McAllister? Look at me. Don't look down there.
Sorry. The entire time in the car, she says, I'm not a stalker, I'm not a stalker. I go, okay, sorry, you're not a stalker. No problem. Okay, I'll get you to your vehicle. Well, the vehicle's parked 3 blocks away from the house where she was living or where she was arrested. So there's obviously something going on there. Anyway, I get her out, she signs the agreement, and she refuses to pay me.
Just a second. When did she sign the agreement?
Immediately upon release from the county jail.
Okay. And then you drove her to her car.
Correct.
And you dropped her, and she never paid you.
Right. I made
When,
repeated
for the first time, did you contact her with regard to payment?
Well, within 10 days, we sent her an invoice, just a reminder of the payment terms, and sent her 4 or 5 subsequent invoices that went answered with these rambling letters talking about...
Do you have a copy of the letters?
I do.
Can I see them, please?
Those are her letters to me and then my responses.
Based upon our discussion, these are your words, when he initially asked you for your money. Based upon our discussion, it was my understanding that we would discuss my opportunity to provide some type of service to you and your business in lieu of paying you $5,000 for a relatively risk-free, as you put it, bond. I am still awaiting the opportunity to make good on my offer to work for your company. As you were advised at the time the bond was posted, I have not, or do not have now, $5,000 fee that you are demanding. Given the above-mentioned discussions that we had at the time of the unsecured bond was posted, I now consider your correspondence demanding $5,000 to be intimidating and threatening. What, are you crazy? Please do not send me any more threatening letters. You knew my financial predicament at the time bail was posted. I still intend to honor my promise to perform professional services for you. You never promised to perform professional services for him. Your own letter says, it was my understanding that we would discuss my opportunity to provide some type of service to you or your business in lieu of paying for the bond. Given the above-mentioned discussions that we had at the time, I now consider your... Discussions aren't a contract, madam.
Let me tell you what happened.
Yeah,
because he's not telling you the whole truth.
Go
what
ahead.
happened, he bails me out.
Are you, just a second, are you telling me the whole truth? Listen, are you telling me the whole truth?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
About your children's living arrangements, you're telling me the whole truth?
We're not talking about my children right now. I want to tell you.
You mean you're telling the truth?
About what
Listen to me.
happened.
You're telling the truth sometimes, and sometimes you can lie. And when am I supposed to tell the difference? You see, I knew that you were lying to me about your children's living situation. That you're not willing to discuss.
What do you lie about?
Listen to me. My question to you is, how am I supposed to tell when you're lying, and how am I supposed to tell when you're telling the truth?
I do tell the truth.
But you just lied to me today.
About what?
You lied about your children's living situation.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
How did I?
Oh, yes, you did. And you know you did. You know that they live with me part-time, they live with some part-time, they live here because I work. That's not the story. But that's a story you chose to tell me. Now, You told me that with the same veracity as you told me that you had another contract with him. And my question to you is, how am I supposed to tell when you're telling the truth and when you're lying?
What I'm saying is the truth.
Okay. Now I'm going to hear you, and then I'll tell you what the law is.
Okay. Well, he bails me out. He drives me to my vehicle. On the way to my vehicle, he makes comments about, and he says, well, it would be nice if a pretty woman like you worked for my company doing some sort of marketing and promoting my company, and maybe we can work something out in terms of paying for the bail bond that he posted on my behalf. So when he dropped me off by my vehicle, and before he left, he made me sign the agreement that you saw after we had the conversation of me potentially working for his company.
Did you get what you said to me, madam? You just said to me, maybe you could work for my company. Maybe you could work for my company. And that's not an agreement.
No,
that's not. No. After that, nothing. You took that, and I believe that you said that to her. Well, maybe you could work for my company and do something. Maybe you said it to her. Who cares? It's not relevant. There was no contract.
I said I couldn't work for him full time as he proposed.
So he said,
no,
madam.
We can work something out, and you can work for me on weekends.
Your Honor.
Oh, listen to me. Listen to me. You're making it up as you're going along.
No.
Yes.
No, I have
you
a
are,
letter.
because according to what you said to me, after you had that discussion, after, not before. You see, he said you signed this at the jail.
No.
You say I signed it after I had the discussion with him about working with him part-time, weekends, etc. If that was true, that's not contained in this agreement.
No.
And I believe, madam, that you are one smart cookie. And if he had this conversation with you where you made a contract with him, a contract that's enforceable, to work off the bail bond by working for him part-time, you would have put it in this agreement because you're already out of jail. You see, you're already out. Because you're already bailed out. So then you could either say to him, I'm not signing this. Or you say, it's not the entire agreement that we have. But you didn't. You signed it and said, I promise to pay you $5,000.
Well, he told me right there that if you don't sign it, I'm just going to put you right back to jail. That's what he told me.
I don't believe you. You're making it up as you're going along.
No.
You're making it up as you're going along because if he said to you, you signed this or I'm going to take you back to jail.
That's what he said.
Your response would have been, well, then put in our agreement that I could work it off, right? Right?
I was very stressed.
Oh, listen, it's not the first time you were arrested.
Signing.
That's why I asked you the question before.
And
it's not the first time. It's probably not the second time that you were arrested. So pay him his money. You owe him his money. Don't be a con artist. Judge him for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Kelvin Sarden claims former friend Megan Foote drove his car recklessly and crashed it. Megan says the accident was the car's fault.
Mr. Sarden, you allowed the defendant to borrow your car. She took your car. She totaled your car. You want it fixed or replaced.
Yes.
Ms. Foote says that you loaned her your car. She did total your car. It was your car's fault, and she's counterclaiming for the pain and suffering she endured when your car was in an accident. What kind of car was this?
The Lexus ES300,
What year?
1993.
How long have you had it?
About 7 to 8 years.
Have you had any trouble with the car?
No.
Has the car ever been in an accident?
No.
You have it serviced regularly?
Yes.
And it has never been in a reported accident other than this one?
No.
Tell me about the circumstances surrounding your loaning Miss Foote the car.
She was supposed to go to the store.
Where were you first?
We was at a mutual friend's house. We was there for a birthday party for a little kid. I had showed up later on, and then...
What date was it?
March 17, 2007.
And I assume you knew her before?
Yes.
How long have you known each other?
For about a year and a half, closer to 2.
Just friends?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so go.
So I had let her borrow my car. She was supposed to go to the store. Now, in order...
Did she ask you to borrow the car?
Actually, we had needed to go on a store run, and I did not feel like going out. I had just came back from driving all day, so I did not feel like going out, so I had let Megan borrow the car.
Well, tell me how it came about.
We was talking, we was in the room, and then everybody was like, we need to go to the store. So I'm like,
What did you have to get?
We had to get cigarettes and beer.
Okay, go ahead.
And then I had let her borrow the car.
I still haven't heard how that came about. Somebody said we need cigarettes and beer.
Okay,
And?
we was talking, everybody was talking. I'm sitting there saying, I'm not going to the store. So then she has said, I'll go to the store, you know I'm good. And I said, Meg, I said, are you sure you straight? She was like, Cal, I'm good. So I let her borrow the car.
Oh, okay. So everybody had been drinking?
No, not everybody, no.
But you asked her whether she was okay.
Yes.
Anybody been doing drugs that evening?
No.
Smoking a little?
No.
Just beer?
Yes, beer and cigarettes.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, so then she had asked me to borrow the car to go to the
To
store.
go. She said, I'll go.
Yes.
And I'm good.
Yes.
Which means that she was
Yes.
together enough to go.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So then she went to the store, and now from the house that we was at to go to the store, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to go to the store and back. So I had noticed my car hadn't been back in about a half an hour, so then I started to worry. And then so I had started to eat me some soup, and after I finished the soup, I had noticed that my car still wasn't back. And then so one of my friends, female friends, had came over, and she was like, are you still waiting for your car? And I said, yes. And she was like, well, I think your car might have been involved in an accident up the block. And I was like, oh, no. So then I hopped in my friend.
Okay. And you found the car. Whatever. All right. You didn't witness the car accident. You were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you on your way to the store or from the store?
I was on my way from the store.
On your way back to the party?
Yes.
And what did you have in the car?
I had actually gone to pick up my roommate, and he was supposed to pick her up from work that evening. He had gotten intoxicated and forgot.
Who?
Calvin.
Was supposed to pick up your friend?
Yes.
Your Honor.
Fine. What about this beer and cigarette run?
We had gone to pick up cigarettes at the store.
Who did?
Me and my roommate.
So first you picked up your roommate.
Correct.
And then you went to pick up beer and cigarettes.
Cigarettes. There was
Just
no
cigarettes?
beer to be picked up. No.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
And then you were on your way home.
We were on our way back to the party.
How far from the party were you? About a block?
Probably a minute to 2 minutes away. A few blocks.
So tell me what happened.
I was driving. The steering had malfunctioned. Let me get over here. The steering had malfunctioned probably about around here, where the car had gone into the mailbox. One of my passengers that was sitting in the front passenger seat had stated that I was going to hit a mailbox.
Don't tell me what anybody stated to you.
This way. It had swerved back to the other side of the road. Then it went over to the other side again and had gone up on the grass, hit the telephone pole, and that's about all I remember because I was knocked unconscious.
You have a driver's license?
Yes, I do.
You have a car?
Not at the time, no, I did not have a vehicle.
Did you ever have a vehicle?
Yes.
What happened to the car?
I had sold it because of personal issues.
Sold it why?
I had been going, I'm a single mother, and I was more concerned about caring for my child at the time. The car was not in my expenses. It wasn't in my means at the time, so I sold the vehicle so I was able to accommodate my son as properly needed.
You work?
Yes, I do.
How do you get to work?
I have a vehicle now. I went and purchased a vehicle about a couple months ago.
This happened in March.
Correct.
A couple of months ago is April, May.
Right. I purchased a vehicle in May.
When had you sold your other vehicle?
That was, what, November of 2006?
From November until 2006 until May, what did you do?
I had family members helping me out. My brother lent me his car every now and then.
Well, how did you get to work every day?
I would have my family members drop me off to work.
Who do you live with?
I live with my roommate.
She talks very, very fast on her feet.
Yana,
But I don't believe everything that you're saying to me. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
You understand that? You know, because if something doesn't make sense, there's always that slight hesitation.
Right.
So you can always tell when somebody is giving you a line.
Right.
Making things up as they're going. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. Okay, where's the car now?
The car is totaled.
Totaled?
Yes, and I have pictures also right here showing
like
that it's
to see
totaled.
it.
And also I have an invoice from the place where it was totaled at, stating that it was a total loss.
Well, it certainly is a total loss. Did you replace it?
No.
You know what the blue book is on it?
Yes. I have it right here.
I'd like to see it.
There we go. Right there. And also, Your Honor, just to make you aware, in that area, it's a 30-mile-per-hour zone, and I have pictures of that showing that it's a 30-mile-per-hour zone.
I'd like to see that.
Yes.
Because this wasn't a 30-mile-per-hour accident.
No way.
Now, how fast were you going?
To be honest with you, I don't really recall, but I was never given a speeding ticket.
Were you taken to the hospital?
I refused the ambulance ride because I didn't know what kind of situation he had as far as insurance. I didn't want to put him into financial debt.
What, are you kidding me? You didn't go to the hospital because you probably had a high blood alcohol level.
I was never given a sobriety test.
I didn't ask you that.
Also, Your Honor, I have in my police report where it says that she has slid 144 feet. Also, if you was doing about 50 miles per hour. You would have been able to stop at around 175.
Well, you don't have any expert testimony. She doesn't have any expert witness, do you? Are you a mechanic? Friend, you're not a mechanic, are you? You have any proof that there was something wrong with his car?
No, I do not. Your Honor?
What?
I do have an eyewitness that was in the vehicle with me that saw the steering malfunction and lock up on me.
Before or after you slammed on the brakes?
Before.
Oh, really? Love to hear that witness. Love to hear that witness.
Do I stand up?
Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? The question is...
I was there.
Are you sure you want to do this, is my question. Fine.
Yes.
Over here. Your last name?
Rosado.
Miss Rosado, what arrangements had you made to go to the party?
Went to work, and I was like, you know what, there's a birthday party, I can go to the party after work.
I said, what arrangements had you made to go to the party?
She was going to come pick me up.
Now, what would possibly give her the impression that he was supposed to pick you up?
He had told me that day. He had dropped me off that morning to work.
Was there anything wrong with the car?
Not that morning.
How many times has he taken you to work?
A couple of times.
How many is a couple? A couple is 2.
Maybe 4 or 5 times.
How many other times have you been in his car?
A lot of times.
Ever had any steering problems?
One time we were in the vehicle and he was like, did you guys feel that? It was his car basically what he was trying to say was his car was messed up when we was in the car.
Don't tell me basically what he was trying to say, madam. Tell me about what happened.
We was in the car one day and we was driving on the highway. I believe they was on the highway. And we was on the highway and he was like, wow, did you guys feel that? He's like, I have to get my car fixed.
When was that?
The day before we had the accident.
But it had nothing to do with the steering.
Maybe not. I'm not sure. I don't know nothing about cars, Yana.
Listen to me. The day before the accident, so he said to you, wow, something's wrong with the car. But yet you got in the car that morning for him to take you to work.
That's true.
Why would you put your life in your hands like that?
Don't know.
Only a stupid person would do that. You're not a stupid person, are you?
No.
Now, you want to tell me what you observed on the 17th of March?
We was in the vehicle. We was driving on Pritchard, which is the road.
How fast were you going?
I don't know, Your Honor.
Well, let me ask you this. Were you going 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour?
I wasn't the passenger. I was in the back seat. I wasn't looking at the speedometer.
You don't have to look at the speedometer to know whether you were going 30 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour.
I wasn't paying attention, Your Honor.
Perfect. Then you can sit down. You weren't paying attention. I'm not interested in what you have to say. Anything else you wanted to say to me?
Yes. He signed up for an insurance policy where he knew he was only covered for him to drive his vehicle if anything were to happen in a situation like this. My question is, why would you let someone use your car when you know you're not insured if anything were to happen in your vehicle?
The question is whether you were driving negligently.
No, Your Honor, I wasn't.
That was sort of a rhetorical question. There's no question in my mind that you were speeding. Based upon the damage to this vehicle, there's no question in my mind that you were going over and above the speed limit. There's also no question in my mind that you had had something to drink that night. It's irrelevant, therefore, whether or not he had insurance that covered you. And if you got hurt, you shouldn't have driven too fast, and you shouldn't have had anything to drink while you were driving. That's the price that you pay when you act stupid. Meanwhile, you have to replace his car. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000, that's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Harry and Greg Martin are suing their former friend, Darren Trinchero, for the return of money from an insurance settlement. Darren claims the money is his.
Mr. and Mrs. Martin, you purchased an automobile from the defendant, who was a friend of yours. And according to you, the agreement was you would make payments on this car because, I don't know, did you have a loan outstanding on the car?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at the end of, when the loan was satisfied, he would turn the title over to you. You maintained the car, you paid insurance on the car, and then the car was in an accident.
That's correct.
According to you, the defendant told you that he had received a small settlement check for the accident, but you were also injured in that accident.
Yes.
And when you received your settlement, you ascertained that he had received thousands of dollars for the car.
That's correct.
And you feel as if that money should be yours. Mr. Trinchero says he doesn't think so. So I need some information. When did you purchase this car, Mr. Trinchero?
Back in '04, and I do have a copy of that document.
I'd like to see it, please.
There you go.
You purchased this car September 14th, 2004.
Yes, ma'am.
And you paid $6,500.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you purchase the car from Mr. Trinchero?
In March 2005.
When in March?
March 3rd.
So, Mr. Trinchero, you had the car for 5 months.
Yes, ma'am.
How much were the payments?
$249.09.
And I have to add in your down payment, which was $1,500. So your entire investment in this car, Mr. Trinchero, was $2,745.
Yes, that sounds correct.
Now, you took over these payments in March of 2005.
That's correct.
And when was the car totaled?
November 13th, 2006.
And you were paying $249.09.
That's correct.
Okay, so let's figure that out. You see where I'm going, Mr. Trinchero?
Yes, ma'am.
So they invested in the car $5,229.
Right.
Now, how much of a check did you get for the car, sir, when the car was totaled?
The value of the car check was $4,900, which I have a copy of here.
Let me see it.
There you go.
Your Honor.
Shh, just a minute. $4,549.
Right. Yes,
What'd you
ma'am.
get this for?
That was for the balance of the car that was worth, because I was a lien holder on the car, the owner of the car. After,
Why should you get all this money?
Because during the agreement, back on 03 of 04, there were many stipulations to the contract, such as carrying insurance on the vehicle, also notifying me of any address changes that they had or anything.
Oh, stop it. You're being a big baby and you're nitpicking, Mr. Trinchero. Mr. Trinchero, let me ask you this question, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
If they finished paying off the car in 3 months and it hadn't been in an accident, would they have gotten the title?
Not if they would not have carried full coverage insurance. Like
What difference would it have made?
Because I accepted liability
Just a
for
second.
the car.
Just a second. Mr. Trinchero, did you pay for the insurance?
Yes, I did. I carried it till 2006, which was not part of our
Just a
agreement.
second. You paid for the insurance
Right.
until when?
From the beginning of the contract until 3/3 of 06.
3/3 of 06. The car was in an accident in November of 06.
Right, I had coverage on the vehicle at the time.
You just told me that you had coverage in the vehicle until March of 06.
Right, 3/3 of 06 was my
Well,
coverage.
March would be the third month of
Yes,
the year,
ma'am.
sir.
Uh-huh. Yes.
The accident happened in November.
Right.
Your Honor, we had the first 6 months that we had the car, that we were paying him an additional $50 a month to keep us on his policy.
Can I see that, please?
Well, this here is just the copies of the.
I just want to see any checks that are above. I'm speaking. The 24909.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I interject something there, please?
Listen, Mr. Trinchero, you're a hustler, and you did the wrong thing. And what you're supposed to do, since you got your finger caught in this miserable pot, you're supposed to say, you know what, let's see if we can find some median. I shouldn't get a windfall over and above what I paid for a 10-year-old car.
Well,
right? Hey, pay attention.
Right.
I shouldn't get a windfall because a car doesn't appreciate in value. A car loses value.
Right.
So you put in $2,700. You got twice as much as you put in, and you're not entitled to it. You're here in a court of equity, sir.
Right.
And if you only put in $2,700, unless this car was a mint Ferrari, you're not entitled to make money on it. Do I make myself clear?
Right. I'm not trying to make money.
You are trying to make money on it because your whole investment was $2,745.
I believe I assume liability for this vehicle, and I lost something because of that. And
Well, you
my
think
contract...
wrong. Hey, Mr. Trinchero, you think wrong.
Okay.
You may have rationalized your bad behavior and your dishonesty with these people in your own mind because you laid there and you said, well, now they sent me a check because I'm on the title to the car. How do I justify not giving them at least some of this money? Well, let me see. They let Homer drive the car twice, and they weren't supposed to do that. They were supposed to keep the car in insurance and not take it out of the state. And I know they went on vacation once, and they took the car to Florida. Hey, I'm speaking. That's what you did. You laid in bed and tried to figure out how you could justify being dishonest. And that doesn't fly here. You don't justify being dishonest when you come into a court of equity, Mr. Trinchero. Right. It's dishonest, and it was the wrong thing to do. What you should have done is said, listen, we got this money. You invested $52.29 in the car. I invested $27.45. The whole idea was for me to get off the hook paying for the car because I didn't want this car anymore after 5 months. You did.
Yep.
Because
that's not correct.
hey, listen,
Not correct.
If you didn't want to sell it to them, you wouldn't have sold it to them. Did you get another car, Mr. Trinchero?
I had another car before I sold it to them. And I had no use for this, and Greg had no car. Being a friend of his, I felt that it would be an equitable thing to do that. But he did not fulfill his end of the bargain in the contract, which I thought was legal.
You purchased a
Well,
brand new
just
car.
hey.
I thought this was a legal contract, and it was violated many times.
Then what you have to do if it was violated many times is take the car back.
Exactly.
And we did try to do that several times.
Which you did not do.
We took many actions to do that.
No, I didn't say did you take many actions, Mr. Trinchero. Did you take the car back?
We could not locate them.
Oh, you're so full of baloney, sir. You could locate them when you got the check. That you managed to locate them. When they
No, I
got the
did not.
check, you
They
managed to
notified me
locate them.
first
Very,
when there was
very
an
bad,
accident.
sir. I don't know how you sleep with yourself at night. I wouldn't want you to be my friend.
I don't see where he's entitled to any amount of the check from the insurance company that mailed him that check.
He's not.
Okay.
If he had been what we call a mensch, that means a good person, a good, honorable person, you probably would have sat down and said, listen, you got a little extra money. I'm going to get a little extra money because I put in $5,200, but I drove the car. I mean, you don't expect to get 100% value on your car if something happens. You might have made some kind of an accommodation. But since he was a pig, he loses everything. Judgment for the plaintiff and the amount requested, $42.74. That's all.
21-year-old Cassie Pryber Floyd is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Andrew Higgs, for unpaid loans and for breaking her windshield with his cell phone.
According to your complaint, Cassie, the defendant, who was your boyfriend, needed some money for rent. You loaned him $300, then you had a fight, and he broke your windshield in your car. You want him to fix it, and then you want money for chauffeuring him around to various things, including seeing his daughter.
Correct.
You have a daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is she?
Year-old.
You support her?
Yes.
How much do you send?
I send at least $150 every week.
If child's mother was here, would she tell me that you spend $150 a week on your daughter?
Yes.
All right, Cassie, so let me hear about this first loan that you made him. When was it?
The first loan was May 4th.
Tell me about it.
Andrew was staying in a hotel, and his brother could not loan him any more money, and he needed money for rent to be able to stay in the hotel. So he asked me if I could loan him the money for the rent. He promised to pay me back.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
He promised to pay me back, even if he had to give me his paychecks until it was paid off. I have a witness that was there.
Where did this conversation take place?
At his hotel room.
Where were you staying at the time?
I was living in Harrisonburg.
Were you staying in the hotel?
No, I was not.
Did you ever stay in the hotel?
I stayed one night.
It's a lie.
I'm going to give you one more opportunity, then I'm going to throw you out of here, which is not a good thing. You do want to be heard, don't you?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
How many nights did you spend there, Cassie? And don't make it difficult for me.
Only one night, Your Honor.
In total?
In total.
Okay, now when was this incident with the windshield?
The windshield incident was on June 22nd.
Between May 4th and June 22nd, did he give you any money?
No.
Did you ask him about it?
I asked him pretty much every day for it. He kept saying, I need my daughter's mom child support money, or I need it for drugs. He smoked almost every single one of his paychecks.
Well, didn't that give you a clue, Cassie, that this was not the kind of person you wanted to be around?
For a while, I did stop talking to him. He called me on June 22nd, said he was having problems with his daughter's mom.
What were the problems he was having with his daughter's mother?
He was not paying her child support, and she did not want to let him see her.
What were you doing with your money?
I was paying the rent.
Were you smoking dope?
No.
Methamphetamines, Your Honor.
Ooh, were you doing methamphetamines?
No, ma'am.
That's a kind of nasty story to make up about you.
Actually, Your Honor, we did take part in that there for a couple weeks, but she was involved just as well as I was.
So if I asked you if you were doing drugs, the answer was yes.
But the money that she loaned...
Just a sec. The answer would be yes.
Right. The money that she loaned me was actually because she was living with me at the time, and plus half that went to her nose also.
That's not true, Your Honor.
She was living down there with me because she lives house to house. She can't take care of her kids. She's been living in 7 different houses in the past year because she can't hold a job. She can't do nothing.
Where are you working now?
I'm a waitress.
Where?
At IHOP.
How long have you been there?
On and off for 4 years.
On and off doesn't tell me. How long have you been there the last stint there?
Probably about 4 months. No, give or take 3 months, 2 months. I'm sorry.
I got it.
Cassie Pryber Floyd says ex-boyfriend Andrew Higgs owes for loans and a broken windshield. Each is accusing the other of being a drug addict.
All right, my dear. Now you can tell me about the windshield.
I had picked Andrew up on June 22nd. We had gone back to one of his witnesses' houses, and everybody was drinking. He had about 2 40-size bottles of beer. Him and I had gotten into an argument. He was getting rowdy with everybody. So I told him I was going to take him home. On our way home, I received a phone call, and he got upset about the phone call and threw his cell phone up into the dash of my car, breaking and spiderwebbing my windshield.
Okay, let's hear about the windshield incident. Andrew.
We was at the witness's house drinking.
What day of the week was that?
Wednesday, I believe.
Wednesday. What time did you get there? Whose house was it? Raise your hand. What time?
7:30, 8 o'clock.
In the evening?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many children do you have? 2?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are they?
One is with me, and the other one was with her dad.
The one that's with you is how old?
She's 4.
And the one that's with her dad is how old?
She's 2.
Where was the one that lives with you at 7:30 in the evening on Wednesday?
Probably spending time with my father. My parents have joint custody, but I have primary physical custody. When my father and my stepmom have time, they do spend time with her.
That is not true. You got a lot of growing up to do.
Yes, I know that.
You know, her father takes care of her daughter. She gets her maybe once a month.
I got it.
I have her every day, Your Honor.
Listen to me, Cassie. When a court has to get involved and give grandparents legal custody of a child.
That's not what happened, Your Honor.
No?
Her father ended up in jail, and
yes,
I did not want him to have to fight me for custody because he was in jail. My dad and my stepmom do have joint custody of
Cassie!
for that.
That is a lot of baloney. Do you want me to tell you why?
Why?
I was a family court judge for many, many years. People in prison do not sue for custody. And the only reason grandparents get custody of children is because a parent is unable, physically or emotionally, of them. That's why a court gives grandparents custody of children. So I'm telling you, you better grow up. You two. Doing drugs jointly or independently not only is wasteful, since you work at IHOP, and you work where, sir?
I'm a truck driver.
Well, a truck driver who does methamphetamines is not a truck driver that I would like to have driving my truck or on the road.
Your Honor, I don't...
Do we understand each other, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now tell me what happened in the car when her windshield got smashed.
She got a phone call from a witness here saying that it was another guy waiting at her house for her. And me and her got in an argument. Instead of losing my cool, I tossed the...
Don't interrupt. Sure, it's true.
I just threw my phone up against the window. And then next day, well, she went back to my witness's house and was laughing, saying that she hit me and everything. And
she hit you.
And next day, she realized that her windshield was broken. She called me up. It's like, yeah, when you threw my phone, you broke my windshield. And she's like, well, I'm not really worried about it because 2 days later, we got back together.
All right. And then you want money for driving him around to see his daughter. Is that right? That's the last part of your lawsuit?
Yes, ma'am.
Forget it. I don't even want to hear anymore. Listen, I'm going to make short work of the two of you. So far between the two of you, you have managed to ruin your young lives yourselves and bring 3 offspring into this world, none of whom you are caring for. You have done enough damage. Grow up. The time you came here to file a case, to come here, you should have better spent doing something productive. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I have...
Quiet. There isn't a question in my mind, sir, that if I were to ask the mother of your child whether each and every week she gets $150 from you, I would not get an affirmative response.
Yes, you would.
Maybe once in a while you send it. Put your hand down. Either one of you two ladies the mother?
No, but
I don't care. I just ask a question. Either one of you the mother of this child? Good. Then shut up. You get me? You made 3 babies. You tortured enough people. Grow up. Especially you. That's all. Out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Holly Corbella says former high school classmate Summerlin Gray vandalized her car. Summerlin says Holly tried to run her over after a confrontation with her boyfriend.
Ms. Corbella, according to what I've put together from your complaint, you knew the defendant from high school. You weren't friends, but you knew her from high school. And it is your claim that she vandalized your car. She vandalized your car by kicking it with you in it. Correct. This was after some sort of an altercation at a place where she works. The defendant says that if she touched your car or came into contact with your car, it was because you were trying to run her over. And if there was any damage to your car, it was as a result of that. So, how long ago did you graduate from high school?
2004.
And you?
2004, ma'am.
And you weren't friends?
No.
Were you enemies?
Not really. We just didn't really talk.
Didn't care for each other, so you weren't friends, you weren't enemies, you just knew each other?
Yes.
When did this incident happen with your car?
November 10th, 2005.
Where?
In Crinkles, which is her parents' store.
Crinkles?
Yeah.
What kind of a store is it?
It's like a type 7-Eleven type store.
Okay, so tell me what happened on November 10th.
Me and my boyfriend, we went to the store, I believe, to get cigarettes.
To the store that her parents owned?
Yeah, which I didn't even know that her parents owned the store. So we went in. I went in with him to buy the cigarettes. I knew the guy at the cash register, so I was talking to him.
Who was that?
I believe his name was Dan. I knew him from, like, high school. Like, I hadn't seen him in years. And then I just told him that I was going to go sit in the car because there was a line to listen to music. So I went in the car.
And?
He was in the store, and she came over.
Stand up, sir.
Yes.
Your last name is?
Lord, L-O-R-D.
Okay, so you were standing on line?
Yes.
She went back to sit in the car?
Yes.
What happened in the store?
I was standing in line, and she had came up to the register talking to the guy that she had said hello to, Dan, I believe. When she started talking, she started saying a lot of things about her. I don't want her in my store, like very bad verbal things, and she didn't know I was with her.
What kind?
Can I say it on TV? Just, I don't want that in my store, or this and that. I don't, you know, she shouldn't be here. If she ever comes in again, I'm going to kick her. Stuff like that. And I basically, she didn't know I was with her, and I was in the back of the line. And then eventually I was like, do you speak to all your customers like that? And then she basically, you know, started yelling at me, and we got into an argument.
Well, what did she say to you?
She was just like, who are you? And I said, well, I'm Holly Corbella's boyfriend. And she's like, yeah. Well, she's like, you can get out of my store, too. I said, oh, this is your store? And she's like, yeah, it's my store. I said, you own this store, and this is how you respect your customers, by yelling like that.
Okay, so you had a verbal altercation with this young lady.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Basically, it kept going on, and then the guy at the register tried calming her down, calming me down, because we were both arguing, and it started to come outside. She came out to me outside, right in the front
door. Did you leave?
Yes, I left.
Did you pay for your cigarettes?
Yes.
Paid for your cigarettes and you walked out?
Yes.
Okay. Now, he's paid for his cigarettes. Is that right, Miss Gray?
No, ma'am.
He didn't pay?
No, ma'am. He
Really?
didn't purchase anything that night, ma'am, and if I may, I will
Just
start...
a second. So
Okay.
he didn't purchase anything. Are you saying you didn't walk out with your cigarettes?
I purchased a 6-pack of Heineken and a pack of cigarettes, cash.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Miss Gray. I believe him.
Okay. Well,
I believe that he waited online because he wasn't leaving without those cigarettes and he wasn't leaving without the beer. So I believe...
Well, why would anybody,
just
right?
a second. Just a second. Because he's waited online. He's already argued with you. So he may have been disgusted with your store, but he wasn't leaving without his items. So I believe he bought them and he paid for them.
Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Now, you want to tell me what problem you had with Miss Corbella?
Well, that night, ma'am, Miss Corbella had walked into the food side of my store, and her boyfriend had walked into the liquor side of my store. Holly seen me. She looked directly in my eyes. I didn't say anything out loud to where any customers heard anything, and I pulled my brother aside, who is the manager, and I said, I don't want her in this store. I don't trust her. I've had altercations with her from stealing and hearing...
I thought you said that you didn't have any bad contact with her.
No, I don't.
So what do you mean?
Because my friend has gotten in trouble from her stealing, whatever.
What do you mean your friends got into trouble with her from stealing?
We were never friends, never liked each other. We had this one friend that was friends with me and friends with her.
Yes.
My friend that was also friends with both of us got in trouble with her stealing.
Just a second. So your friend was arrested for stealing, for theft?
Yes.
And according to you, she was with this friend when she got arrested for stealing?
Yes.
Okay. Was she arrested for stealing?
No.
Just your friend was arrested for stealing?
With her, yes.
No. Listen to me.
Yes, she wasn't arrested. No, yes, my friend was
Just
arrested.
your friend was arrested for
Yes.
stealing. Now, he's on his way out the door. Why did you follow him out the door? Look at me.
I followed him out the door because the altercation that happened inside my parents' store, he left mad, and she actually was inside the store when the fighting was going on. So she heard everything and she seen everything. I followed him out of this store because my car was in the parking lot, and I didn't want anything happening to my car, anything in the parking lot, because
Now.
they threatened me.
No, listen to me. Listen to me. Very carefully. There was a line when Mr. Lord was waiting to pay for his cigarettes and his beer, which means there were other customers in the store.
Right.
How many other customers would you say were in the store?
There were only about 3, ma'am.
And is your store a standalone store, or are there other stores in a shopping mall? Or
It's a standalone, ma'am.
how many people were in the store after Mr. Lord left the store?
The same 3, ma'am.
So that there were at least 3 other cars out there. Is
Right.
that right? Listen to me carefully. Plus your car, right?
Plus my car, yes.
And you hadn't seen Miss Corbella since high school, right? And you never met Mr. Lord, right?
Right.
So how do they know which is your car and which is a car that
Corbella
belongs?
knows well what my car looks like. I've had the same car since high school, and she's seen my car outside her friend's car and me get into it a couple of times and drive away.
Great.
So
Did she
knows-
just listen to me? Did she ever hurt your car before?
We've never had an altercation.
Just listen to me. Did she
No.
ever hurt your
No,
car
ma'am.
before?
No.
What happened when she followed you outside?
We were still arguing. She told me, you know, I'm going to kick her if she doesn't leave. So I walked up into the car. As I got in the car, no lie, the size of her, I was surprised how strong she came at the car and kicked the car in right where I was. As I closed the door, she came and kicked it. There was no running over her. Then she even went in front of the car as we were leaving. And Holly was all nervous, so she was trying to get around her. The car was already kicked.
You have a picture of the car?
Yes.
I'd like to see
I have
it,
a couple
please.
pictures, actually.
Were you there, sir?
I was outside smoking a cigarette, Your Honor.
I don't remember.
Oh, this is a kick, Miss Gray. This is a kick, my dear.
This is not a kick.
Yeah, this is a kick, Miss Hot Temper.
Okay.
This is a kick. This is not I fell into your car accident. This is a kick. Does this look like I fell into the car accidentally, or does this look like somebody kicked it?
It was a running
Fell into it
kick.
several times.
Looks like I fell into it several times. Got a hot temper, madam. You can't do that. You can't
I'm sorry,
vandalize
ma'am.
somebody
If
else's
somebody
car.
comes into my family business, he had nothing to do with what I said to her because he didn't even hear me.
What does that have to do with kicking his car?
He wanted to throw a beer case at me over my family counter is what the first threat was. And then, yes, I did go outside to make sure everything was okay in the parking lot. He did not get directly in the car. He stood in my face threatening me to where the point my brother had to come outside and separate us.
Listen to me. What does that have to do with kicking her car?
I didn't kick her car,
You
ma'am.
did.
I flew backwards. No, I did not.
You don't want to say anything, do you?
I'll say something if you want me to.
Do I want you to? No. Could I have an estimate, please, to fix this car where Miss Hot Temper kicked your car?
And ma'am,
Your
they did
parents
not
leave
keep-
you in charge of that business often?
Actually, I'm not in charge, ma'am.
Well, it's good that at least they have some brains. They don't leave you in charge. But does somebody monitor the two of you in that store?
He doesn't work there, ma'am. He was waiting for me to get off.
They don't trust you to work in the store. They trust her. Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $940. That's all. Step out.
23-year-old Cammie Farmer is suing Jose Martinez for a late-night fender bender outside a nightclub. Jose says it was Cammie who backed into him.
Ms. Farmer, you claim that Mr. Martinez damaged your car in a parking lot, and Mr. Martinez says that the accident was both of your faults, so you should each pay for your own damage. You were all exiting a club that evening.
Right.
So what I'd like you to do is to go over to that chart that you've prepared and show me where the exit was.
This is the exit right here.
Okay, so there's a steady stream of traffic that's going sort of in the center.
Right.
And what happens is I assume that a car in the center lane lets one car in from one side and then another car goes sort of alternating egress from the parking lot.
And there was police officers in the parking lot directing traffic.
Now, what kind of car were you driving?
A 2000 Chevy Malibu.
And Mr. Martinez?
A van.
So tell me what happened.
As I was trying to exit,
That was you. You're in the red.
This is me. I'm the red, and he's the blue. So as they're exiting, and I'm waiting in line for them to exit, I guess he got impatient and was in a hurry or whatever and tried to go around me. And his back van door was open. So as he's trying to go around me, his door caught my left bumper and my left tail light and shifted my trunk.
You have pictures of that?
No, I don't. I put it in the shop the next day, so I didn't take pictures.
Well, after his van door hit your car, what happened?
The police officer directing traffic directed us to pull this way and exchange information.
And you did that?
Yes.
You have a police report?
No, because it was on private property and there was no injuries, the police officer didn't take a police report, but he gave me a statement.
I'd like to see it. This is Police Officer M. There were 20 vehicles in the parking lot attempting to leave. Okay. So what I want you to do, sir, is to give me your version of what happened. Because I will tell you now, Mr. Martinez, the police officer observed what happened.
Okay.
So before you even think about trying to fabricate a story, I suggest you think hard about what happened.
Okay, I'll tell you what happened. Well, that night, me and my friends threw a party at a club in Union City.
I don't care.
And,
listen to me. I don't care. Get to the parking lot.
Okay, the parking lot. Okay, well,
And
like
look
I say.
at me when you're talking.
Okay, we was partying. You know, everybody had a little liquor in them.
Not me.
No, just a second.
Okay, well.
You had a little liquor
I had a
in
little
you.
liquor in me. So I'm like, we was exiting the parking lot. And could I show you on the graph? All right, this is the parking lot. I guess this is how you get out. I'm right here, she right here. I'm going up. When I was coming up, she was coming back. So we both hit each other. The reason I didn't really file no collar claim because I figured it was both our fault.
No!
That's why I did that.
Well,
where was I going?
That, just a second, just a second. Get back there.
Okay.
First of all, you had no business being behind the wheel of a truck or a van or a vehicle if you had been drinking.
Yeah.
Because it clouds your judgment.
Right.
And let me tell you what the police officer said.
Okay.
The police officer said he observed a black van with its passenger side sliding door open as it was attempting to drive around Miss Farmer's vehicle. In trying to do so, the black van side door collided with the right rear taillight of Miss Farmer's car. Mr. Martinez continued driving along the side of Miss Farmer's vehicle, causing more damage. It appeared that Mr. Martinez did not realize that he collided with Miss Farmer's vehicle. You know why that was?
I realized.
All right. So let me see an estimate, please.
I got 2 estimates. The shop that I went to gave me a discount.
Okay, but you had it fixed.
Right.
Well, how much did you pay to have it fixed?
$827.60. Here's the receipt.
Good, great. What I'm surprised at is the police officer didn't cite you for driving while under the influence of alcohol.
I also have rental car receipts because I had to get back and forth to work, and I also had a daughter that needed to get back and forth to school.
Who do you live with?
I live by myself.
I'll see them.
The receipts are in my mother's name because she rented it, but I gave her the money, cash.
All right, the judgment's for $970. That's all. Step out.
Thank you.
Nathan Heater says ex-girlfriend Rebecca Titus had him falsely arrested for physically abusing her. Rebecca claims he kicked her in the stomach during her pregnancy.
Mr. Heater, the defendant used to be your girlfriend.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, she had you falsely arrested for domestic violence.
Correct.
Ms. Titus says that she did call the police. She had you arrested for domestic violence, and that's because you hit her. Correct?
Yes.
This incident happened on what date?
July 28th.
Now, Ms. Titus, I am correct that at one point in your relationship, you found yourself pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And you told Mr. Heater that he was the father of this baby and that you miscarried. Is that what happened? But it turned out that he was not the father of this child.
It could have not been his.
Right. And then you renewed your relationship again briefly. But that's all it takes, Mr. Heater. A brief moment of stupidity, and Miss Titus told you she was pregnant again. And according to you, you said, listen, I didn't know about last time, I don't know about this time. I don't want to have anything to do with this baby until I take a paternity test.
Actually, what I told her was, that I would help her out as long as I would be repaid if the baby was not mine.
You didn't discuss that with me first. I would have told you that that was a very bad idea. However, on the evening of the 28th of July, according to you, and according to Miss Titus, she called you and wanted to come over to talk.
Actually, he called me.
Yes.
What did you call her for?
I thought that she had a doctor's appointment regarding the baby the previous day, and I just called to see how it went.
And what did Miss Titus tell you?
She said that I was wrong about the date, that I believe it was the next day, and that she would like to come over and speak to me. And I said, I don't think that's a good idea. We speak face-to-face, that we should speak over the phone. And she said that she didn't want to speak over the phone.
So Mr. Heater told you not to come over.
Well,
you
no.
acknowledge that. He said he didn't want to talk to you in person.
He said that he didn't want to talk to me, but eventually said that it was okay for me to come over.
Did you tell her it was okay to
No,
come
I
over?
did not.
No, I don't believe that. It's not what you say in your answer, and I don't believe that. He said he didn't want to talk to you in person. He thought you should discuss whatever you had to discuss over the phone. But you went over there anyway. What time did you go over there?
About 12:30 in the afternoon.
What did you want to discuss with him?
I wanted to talk to him about the baby and about how things were going between us. We were, before this, we were going out and doing things together, and like...
Don't you people know anything about birth control?
Yes, they don't work for me.
They don't work for you?
Yes. My body rejects them.
There are all kinds of birth control, Ms. Titus.
Yes, ma'am.
The answer to having a problem with one form of birth control is not to have babies with people who don't want to have children with you, like Mr. Heater or anybody else. So you went over there about 12:30.
I knocked at the door, and he told me to come in, and I upset him. And
how did you upset him?
I don't remember exactly what I said.
Maybe you
to
do.
him.
If you don't remember, maybe he does. What happened, Mr.
I
Heater?
was upset before she came into the house because I told her not to.
Come over.
And she started screaming through my door at me.
What was she saying?
You have to live up to your responsibilities. You can't create a situation and then not take care of it.
That doesn't sound welcoming, Miss Titus.
That never happened at all.
Go ahead.
So, to save myself from embarrassment from my neighbors, and I did open the door for her to try to...
So you let her in?
Yeah.
And what happened when she came inside?
It just continued on the same thing in there. You have to take care of this. And, you know, I was trying to tell her I'm doing the best I can with this. I don't really know how to deal with this situation. Everything's so bad. I don't know what to do except for what I am doing, and that wasn't good enough for her. And for 30 or 45 minutes, she followed me around my house with me telling her to leave over and over and over again. She would not leave my house. And eventually I was in the kitchen sorting my dishes, and she came in and was pointing her finger at me, yelling at me in there, telling me the same thing, that I had to deal with my responsibilities. At that point, I took her by the hand that she was pointing at me with and just turned her around facing the kitchen door. And I had hold of her elbows with my body pressed against her back and was just walking her towards the door. I was like, you need to leave now. And she grabbed onto the kitchen doorway and started pressing back against me. And when I finally backed off of her and she let go of the door, she turned around and grabbed my hand like this, and then she smacked me in the face and said I had no right to touch her. And as a reaction, my hand came back around too.
So you hit her?
Yeah, regrettably I did come back around. She went off towards what I thought was the front door, but as I was in the kitchen, I heard her dialing my phone. She told me then that she called the police.
Do you have a copy of the police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Who is this gentleman, Mr. Heater?
This is my friend, Jason Hubbard.
Was he a witness to what happened on the 28th of July?
No, he wasn't.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Titus, tell me what happened, your version of what happened when you got into the house.
When I came into the house, we sat down on the couch and started to talk. At first, things were okay. Then I started talking about the baby and about this new girl that he's dating, and how that her not liking me around is the real reason why he's not wanting to have anything to do with the baby. Then he got upset and told me to leave, and I told him no, he can't just end the conversation anytime he wants
Yes, he can.
to.
He can tell you to leave this house. Go ahead.
I followed him around the house and was still talking to him, and we ended up in the kitchen, and I had said something about this girl he's dating, his girlfriend, and he doesn't like me to refer to her as that, so that made him really upset. And he came and he grabbed me by my arms and started to escort me through the door. And I stopped myself, told him he didn't have any right to put his hands on me at all.
Yes, you did.
Not according to...
Oh, yes, you did. Once He tells you that he wants you to leave his house and you remain there. You're trespassing. That's a crime. Next.
Well, according to...
Don't tell me according to anybody. You tell according to a police officer? I've had 10 years of postgraduate legal education. When you're in somebody's house and you're an invited guest, first of all, you weren't an invited guest.
But I was
I'm
invited.
speaking. You weren't an invited guest. You were told not to come. You came anyway. He tried to avoid you and said, please leave. Once he told you to leave his house and you refused, you become a trespasser.
Well, another reason
Now,
I didn't leave is because in previous arguments that we've had, he's asked me to leave, and then 10 minutes later, he'll call me and tell me come back over.
well, you just have to guess his mood then. Right now, he told you to leave, and you didn't leave. So he put his hand, escort you out. And what did you do?
I was pushing back against him, like you said, and I turned around, and he still had a hold of me when I smacked him in his face.
Right, so you smacked him in his face first.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he slapped you.
Twice.
Twice. You slapped him the first time, he slapped you twice. It's amazing to me that the police arrested you, sir. Absolutely amazing. Tried to get you out of the house. He's holding on to your arms. You're resisting him. Ultimately, you turn around. He's still pushing you, correct? And you slapped him. He slapped you then twice. Where did he slap you? In the face?
In the face.
And then he let go of you when you called the police. And you are there because you are pregnant.
Yes.
And you're concerned about the welfare of your baby.
Yes.
And that is the primary thing that you're concerned about, the welfare of your baby.
Yes.
So let me tell you what you told the police. Titus said that the defendant grabbed her by the arms and began to drag her out of his house, physically trying to remove her from the residence. She advised that she is pregnant with his child and that he pushed on her stomach. Was that meant to get the police really angry at him? Pregnant, he pushed on your stomach? You're full of baloney. And you had no right to have him arrested. And I'm amazed that they arrested him. He has a right to escort you out of his house if you refuse to leave. You hit him first. Did you hire a lawyer?
No, I had a public defender.
One of the things that I have to comment on is you're not too swift. If you're dating this girl and she tells you she's pregnant and it turns out it could have been you or somebody else, I wouldn't have had a wind through my head and then had intimate relations with her again, unprotected. Do we understand each other?
Completely.
Ms. Titus, you have to learn that domestic violence is a very serious crime. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you have a right to hit somebody and not expect to be hit back. And you have no right to lie to the police, because it was a lie what you told the police that he pushed you in your stomach while you were pregnant. That's not what he did at all, because that's not what you told me happened. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Kathleen Frazier says her car was vandalized by Janice Turner. Janice says Kathleen won't keep away from her husband.
Ms. Turner, is your husband here today?
No, ma'am.
Where is he?
At work.
How long have you been married?
8 years.
You have children?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Fraser, according to what I've read, you and Ms. Turner's husband have been friends for a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
How many years have you been a friend to Ms. Turner's husband?
About 20 years.
You know him from school?
From school. We grew up in the same neighborhood.
And according to you, Ms. Turner is not happy that you have a nice, close friendship with her husband, and she reacted to that, according to you, by harassing you and vandalizing your car.
Yes.
Ms. Turner says nothing could be farther from the truth, that you have actually been harassing her and she would never do anything to vandalize your car.
Correct.
I read your answer, Ms. Turner, and I read Ms. Fraser's complaint. Do you approve of the friendship that Ms. Fraser has with your husband?
I didn't have a problem with her being friends with my husband. The problem came in when I initially had contact with Mrs. Fraser. She was being chased down the street by another woman, hollering, "You better leave my husband alone." That's my first initial contact with Mrs. Fraser. At the time, I did not know who she was. And me and my husband was sitting on the porch that day, and he looked and said, "That's my friend Kathy." He went over to offer his help, and at that time, she came back over to the porch, sat down to get herself together. After that, that's how I initially met her to let me know.
How long ago?
That was 6 years ago, ma'am.
I'm going to ask you again.
Yes.
Do you have a problem with your husband and Miss Frazier's relationship?
At this time, yes.
And when did you develop a sense that this was not the kind of relationship that was good for your marriage?
To me, friends is the title, and a friend shouldn't come over every other day, shouldn't call every other day. And also, on several occasions, I came home and she was in my house. I don't think that's appropriate for a male and a female, especially a married man, to be in a house with a woman. That's her.
Did you discuss that with your husband?
Yes, I did.
You told your husband that you didn't want?
I think that she comes over too much, and I don't think that's appropriate for her to be in my house when I'm not there.
And what did your husband tell you?
He's saying that they weren't doing anything, but she's there. But I said that's how things can happen.
So your husband defended his friendship with Miss Frazier?
He made a statement that they are
He
friends.
defended the
Yes.
friendship. He
Yes.
said, you know, you're reacting. She's a friend.
Yes.
Did that stop her from coming over?
No, ma'am.
She came over while you were working?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you invited over to the house, Miss Frazier?
Yes, Your Honor.
By Miss Turner's husband?
By her husband, yes.
Has he ever come to your house?
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Does he come to your house as frequently as you go to his house?
Yes.
So, now I'd like you to tell me, did you witness her vandalizing your car?
Yes, I did.
Anybody else witness her vandalizing your car?
Yes.
Who?
My witness here, Cletus Brown.
Step up, Mr. Brown. How do you know Miss Frazier?
I really don't know Miss Frazier. I had, on Wednesdays, I usually pick up a friend of mine, and we usually always go get groceries at the church on Wednesday. So as we was coming back, this lady here, she was in the parking lot. I mean, she was just hysterical.
Had you ever seen her before?
No, never.
What parking lot was she in?
At the apartment complex.
Is that where you live?
No, ma'am.
Who lives there?
I don't know.
A friend of mine does. The person that I picked up
Okay.
on Wednesday to pick up groceries.
Okay. So you saw her sitting in her car?
No, she was out of the car. She was cussing, calling this lady here, "Oh, I'm gonna kick your." I don't know if it looked like a flashlight to me. She was beating the trunk as me and my friend proceeded on.
Beating the trunk of what?
Miss Frazier's car.
And you didn't know Miss Frazier at the time?
No, I did
And you
not.
didn't know Miss Turner at the time?
No.
So what did you do when you saw Miss Turner beating the trunk of the car with
Me and
what looked like a flashlight?
Me and my friend, we proceeded on into the apartment complex because he stays right there on the first floor. And this lady right here, she was still outside cussing and calling this lady names. And so she had proceeded on into the apartment complex. She didn't know which apartment complex Miss Frazier here was in. So she had knocked on some tenants' doors.
Who knocked on the doors?
The defendant here. I guess she was trying to find out which apartment Miss Frazier was in. So Miss Frazier was saying at that time she really didn't want to cause a problem. She told me she was going to handle this the right way. So Miss Frazier here was calling the police, and she continued on out
Where
the
was
door.
Miss Frazier physically when she was calling the police?
She
Inside?
was standing right there in the apartment unit with everyone because everybody was really kind of traumatized.
I'm asking you, when she was called, where were you when you were calling the police?
Inside our friend's
inside.
apartment,
Whose
staying
friend?
in the window.
Whose
the friend's name is Bobby.
Is that the person you go to the church with?
Right, exactly.
But you had never met her before that day?
No, right. I
never.
just met him that day.
So you went into Bobby's apartment?
I went to visit Bobby on this particular day. And when I was there visiting Bobby, he introduced me to Cletus. This is my friend Cletus. We go to the store together. And we all decided we was going to play some cards. So Bobby said, man, let's go to the store first, you know. So they went to the store. I sat there, waited on them to come back. When they came back, that's when Janice had pulled up. Her van was parked on the street. My car was parked in the building parking lot. She walked up to my car, beat it on my trunk with this flashlight. She's still ranting and raving, calling me, I'm gonna f you up, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Then she leaves, and she goes back to her car. She gets a flathead screwdriver. She comes back, and she starts scraping up all on the back of my car. Your Honor, this incident has been going on with Janice. Wherever I go, she sees my car. She gets out. She rips and ramps. She calls. She threatens. She's going to do this. She's going to do that. You
Miss
know,
Frazier, listen to me.
I'm sorry.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the pictures of the car. I'm going to have a heart-to-heart with you, Miss Frazier.
Yes.
Then I'm going to have a heart-to-heart with Miss Turner.
Okay.
You know this friend of yours that's been your friend for 20 years?
Yes.
Get rid of him.
Most definitely. I already know that.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Get rid of him.
It's not worth it.
You want to know why you're supposed to get rid of him? Because he's enjoying watching you two women make fools of yourself.
Exactly.
Miss Turner, Whether you like to acknowledge it or not, your husband is enjoying watching two women clawing at each other, fighting over him.
Exactly.
That's their mentality.
Thank you. Thank you.
You may not believe that, but I want you to think about something you told me before. You said to me, I told him that you don't think it's appropriate for her to be at your house when you're working. He's your husband. He's supposed to care about your feelings, whether you're right or wrong. And this friendship that he has with this lady certainly isn't important as your marriage, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Clearly, it hasn't stopped him.
Yes, ma'am.
So he's sitting back and he's enjoying watching you two ladies make fools out of yourself. What does he do for a living?
It's a painter.
And what do you do?
I'm a secretary.
You've been working for the same company for a while?
15 years.
You look like a terrific lady.
Thank you.
What do you need him for? You think he's making your life pleasant? According to the answer that I receive here, he has not made your life pleasant in the last few years with his relationship with Miss Frazier. You did the wrong thing, by the way. I mean, he's married.
I know.
He's married. It's nice to have a male friend. But if it gets in the way of his marriage and it gets in the way of your peace, you say to him, listen, stay with your wife. Leave me alone. I'll find another friend. Cletus looks... Cletus?
Cletus.
Looks like a lovely man. Find Cletus. Are you married, Cletus?
No, ma'am.
Perfect. Not worth it. You want to say anything to me?
I want to say that on the date of April the 6th that she's claiming, I was working at the time she said, approximately at 1:30.
She didn't say any time.
Ma'am, I'm just going on her statement.
I'm just telling you, Cletus wasn't lying.
Okay.
You can't get that kind of frustrated, Miss Turner. Anything else you want to tell me?
No, ma'am.
Can I see the estimate of the damage, please? Are you friends of hers?
Yes, ma'am.
Been friends for a long time?
Yes.
You know the husband?
Yes, I do. Your Honor, I also know how Miss Frazier is. I work with Miss Turner at the school, and she has harassed our office staff. I have all of that information.
I believe it's true.
Okay.
You following what I'm saying about this husband?
I follow you.
He's enjoying watching these two women fight over him. Makes him feel good, you know? Makes him feel like Brad Pitt.
For real. It's not worth it. He's sorry.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,151. Thank you.
Dawn Chuck is suing her son, 21-year-old Scott King, for a loan to purchase a 1999 Chevy Cavalier. Scott claims the car was a gift.
Miss Chunt, this young man is your son.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint alleges that he owes you a balance of a car loan.
Correct.
And your son says the car was a gift to him?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Did I ask you a question?
No, I'm sorry.
And while he helped you financially for a while, had nothing to do with this being a loan, it was always a gift, and when he had his expenses got to a point where he could no longer help you out, he just stopped. Is that...
That's
now
correct.
I'm looking at you.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Do you want me to yell at him?
Please.
Who is this person?
This is my son's ex-girlfriend, Jessica.
And who is this?
This is my current girlfriend, Kelly.
Is she here for any particular reason?
More or less. She was witness to an instance over the summer where I actually offered a reconciliation to my mother at a festival downtown. And basically my mother told me she was in the process of filing bankruptcy and that my help was too late and basically shrugged me off and walked away. So at that point I felt like I was no longer obligated to even try to reconcile or help out the situation at all.
Let me understand this. I'm going to put what you just said to me because I know that one thing you're going to learn as you get older, you have to think about what you say before you say it.
Absolutely.
What you just said to me was, this young lady is a witness to something that happened recently. When you said to your mother, listen, let me try to work this out with you, you know, with the car, and she shrugged you off and said to you, I filed bankruptcy and your help is too late.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Well, that's, Mr. King sort of acknowledges that this was a loan.
Well,
don't well me.
I'm sorry.
That sort of acknowledges that you had some responsibility in your mother's financial situation. You got to keep it simple. All right, when was the car purchased, Miss Shant?
August of 2002.
How old are you?
21.
How old were you when the car was purchased?
I believe 19, Your Honor.
How much were the car payments each month, Mr. King?
$150 maybe, Your Honor. I'm not sure.
Well, you were making the car payments for a while.
Yes, correct. It was a long time ago.
Okay. You were making the car payments for a while, so when you say it was $150 a month, was it 150 or 152, 156?
Couldn't tell you, Your Honor. Don't have my checkbooks from back then anymore.
How many years did you make the payments?
I'd probably say 12 months.
When you stopped making the payments, did you notify your mother?
Absolutely.
Is that right?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I found out 3 months after the fact that he stopped making the payments that from the finance company contacted me and said the payments had ceased.
You have the
payment
letter?
was $177.26.
You have the letter from the
No, they
finance-
didn't. They just called me and I made a payment over the phone. He made $3,000 worth of the $6,000 loan.
Well, that's a pretty good track record, Mr. King, for somebody who got a gift. See what I mean?
Yes, Your Honor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dawn Chount says her son, Scott King, owes for the balance on a car. Dawn claims Scott traded the car in and kept the money.
And did you file a bankruptcy last summer?
Absolutely not. I've never filed bankruptcy. I have no intention of ever filing bankruptcy.
What kind of work do you do, Ms. Sharp?
I'm an administrative assistant for a management firm.
Who's driving the car?
He's traded that car in on a new vehicle. Yes, ma'am. I have. He got $4,000 on a trade-in, and instead of paying off the loan, he decided to use that $4,000 to purchase his brand new Focus that he's now driving. And they gave him $4,000 for the car, and he used it as a down payment.
Yeah? I mean, you're just going to stand there and look foolish?
No, Your Honor. I mean, what do you want me to say about that? Yes, I traded the vehicle in.
Well, if you traded the vehicle in, who did you expect to make the payments after you traded the vehicle in?
When I was living rent-free, I had no issues helping out with the bills. I was working full-time, going to school full-time.
Helping out with the bills is a different story, Mr. King. Helping out with the bills means, Mom, he has $200 or $300 for rent, or he has $100 a week for rent. That's a different helping out with the bills. You made the car payment directly.
It was sporadically. It was, you know, a chunk here, a chunk there.
Well, that's because you were young and stupid. That's not because that's
Fair
the way
enough.
people do business.
I know that now, Your Honor.
How much is left owing on the car?
Approximately $3,000.
Let me see.
I'm sorry, $2,000 is my balance right now. Here's my current statement from the finance company showing the balance as of today.
And I'm amazed that you traded this car in, that they let you trade
Well,
the
there
car
was
in
no
with a
lien
lien.
because it was a personal loan.
May I say something, Your Honor?
It was a personal loan? What do you mean it was a personal loan?
It was a signature loan. There was no collateral.
What do you want to say?
Well, this wasn't financing that I requested. It wasn't I mean, I was at the age where I could require credit myself. This is a loan that she got, and she acted sporadically like, let's do this now, let's get this now, you need this. I wasn't prepared to make this transaction, and it was basically thrown upon me out of need, out of necessity, from her standpoint, that we needed a better ride for me and Jessica to go to college and back and whatnot. And it happened within a day. We got the check in the mail, and the next day I had a car. I was like, that quick. And I mean, I don't agree that I didn't ask for the loan, I didn't want the loan. I don't even consider it a loan. It wasn't something that I was part of at all. It was something that was thrown upon me, and now I felt like I was being held accountable, like it being dangled over my head from that point forward. After we got rid of my escort, I had no vehicle. So we had the Cavalier, and I was like, make the payment or you lose it. And I was like, this isn't something I ever wanted or wanted to acquire. If I had it my way, I would have still had my old vehicle, and everything would have been okay from that point forward. I don't feel like this was any kind of my decision, and it was forced upon me.
Was he a difficult pregnancy?
Actually, ma'am.
No, I'm asking you a question. Was he a difficult?
No, he was all of my children were very easy.
Easy.
And he was a very cooperative. I was working, got it from the dealer. He was going on a test drive. Mom, I really want this car. I tried talking him out of purchasing this car.
Listen to me.
That's not true.
No 19-year-old or 18-year-old says... 18. Yes. Says, Mom, I don't want this nice car. I want to drive the piece of junk that I'm driving. I'm really happy driving around with my girlfriend in this piece of junk that doesn't start all the time.
Absolutely.
Please, I don't even want to think about a nice car. Being 18, I want to take the bus, take the train. With my,
no, ma'am.
That's how we want to go out.
You wouldn't take a bus to school,
Listen.
to high school. No.
I just want to know whether you had any clue in utero that he was going to develop into this.
No, the last thing I want to do is be here against my son, let me tell you.
Excuse me?
The last place I want to be is here with my son.
I don't blame you.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't blame you.
I just can't afford to make payments on something that is non-existent.
Well, I think that he's got some nerve trading it in. That really suggests to me, I'm speaking.
I'm sorry.
That really suggests to me that he is really totally an amoral person. He could have traded it in for something and given you the money.
That would have been really nice.
That would have been, and not put you in a hole. Because according to Freshmouth over here, he at least thought that you were filing for bankruptcy. He at least thought that you were in financial difficulty. And one of the reasons that you were in financial difficulty was because of his actions. Because according to him, new girlfriend over here, whose purpose in being here is to tell me about this conversation that she heard about looking forward to helping his mother, right? Isn't that what he said you were going to tell me?
Right.
Right. Means that he understood that his conduct created a negative situation for you.
And I do admit that.
Oh, get over it.
Ma'am, can I give Scott the title to his Focus? Because it's at my house.
No, I don't want you to give him anything.
This is his title for his car that he's driving now.
Listen to me. I don't want you to give him anything.
Okay.
He's got to understand what aggravation is. And if he doesn't have a title to the car that he's driving now because it came to your house, let him go to motor vehicles, fill out all the paperwork that he has a lost title, that the title never arrived, that he moved. He'll fill out an affidavit that he never got the title because he no longer lives in your house. Let him do something. Do you understand?
I understand.
He has to experience some pain. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's all.
19-year-old Jennifer Smith is suing her ex-fiancé, 23-year-old James MacArthur, for destroying her property, throwing her engagement ring in a lake, and slander.
Miss Smith, you and Mr. MacArthur were engaged to be married. It didn't work out. And it is your claim that after you broke up, Mr. MacArthur took some of your property, vandalized some of your property, and then posted some very negative things about you on the internet, which you view as slanderous, and you want to be compensated for that. Mr. MacArthur says the only thing that he took back was the engagement ring. As far as destroying your property, he did not do that. And as far as placing items on the internet, he says he never mentioned you by name on any website. How long were you engaged, Mr. MacArthur?
We were engaged for about 2 years.
Did she break up with you, or did you break up with her?
She wanted to take time apart, and I told her I did not want that.
Okay, so she wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably a good idea that you didn't get married.
Yeah.
If somebody's not sure, it's better off to figure it out now than later, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Smith, what items do you claim that Mr. MacArthur stole from you?
He has several of my CDs. He took my engagement ring. I was later informed that that was thrown into a lake.
Well, the engagement ring he's entitled to take back.
It was a birthday present. It was given to me as a birthday present. It was given to me on my birthday as an engagement
your
ring.
engagement ring was given to you on your birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, he's entitled to it back.
It was given as a birthday gift, though.
Listen to, watch me. He asked you to marry him and gave you a ring on your birthday. It was an engagement ring. Did you show it to people as an engagement ring?
Yes.
Did you say to them, this is my engagement ring?
It was.
Did you say to them, this is my engagement ring?
Yes.
You didn't say, this is my birthday present. You got my drift, Miss Smith.
Yes.
If you broke off the engagement, it means the marriage never took place. He's entitled to the ring back. And if he wants to throw it in the lake, he can throw it in the lake. And if he wants to throw it down a sewer, he can do that too. Okay? See how fair I am?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have any of her CDs, Mr. MacArthur?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
I'm not getting myself totally exercised over the CDs. People who were engaged for 2 years, if all they're fighting about is CDs, that means they're not very mature.
I also have CDs that he returned to me that were destroyed when I picked them up.
I'd like to see those.
This is only the ones that were returned to me. That's not the ones that he still has possession of. Some of those are expensive CDs. Some of the CDs that he still has are very expensive.
I don't know what you mean they're destroyed. I have no idea what that means.
If you look at all of them, each of them has a gouge going from the center to the outside. They're completely destroyed. There's absolutely no way of
Well, this one, yeah, this one is
fixing
too.
those.
How did that happen, Mr. MacArthur?
I don't know, Your Honor. Her CDs sat in my trunk. I use my car for work, so I have tools coming in and out of my car every day. I don't
Your
pay
Honor,
attention.
my CDs were in a CD case.
Yeah, Mr. MacArthur. That looks like somebody purposely did that.
And it's
over
not,
there.
it's identical.
Shh. You know how fair I am. This looks like somebody purposely did that. But doesn't that look to you as if somebody did that with a something?
Yeah, by all means.
You know what I mean, Mr. MacArthur?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, I don't think she would do that to her own CDs, because that would be stupid, especially since she broke up with you. But it would seem to me that you were pretty angry. So I have to put 1 and 1 together. That makes you. All right. So now you have these destroyed CDs, which I am placing squarely at the foot of him.
That doesn't include the ones that he still has.
I just answered your question about that 2 minutes ago. What part of I don't care don't you understand? There's no excuse for him vandalizing your property.
What's the excuse for him posting vulgar, slanderous stuff on the internet?
Well, that I want to see. There's no excuse for it. There's a reason that he might have done it, but that doesn't mean that there's an excuse.
He says that he never did it, although he called my house and he called my mother at her work.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me what he told your mother unless your mother is here. Is this what you're telling me, Jeanette?
Yes, it is. I was told to read that.
He doesn't mention your name here.
No, but it says to my ex, you know who you are, and I was told that
Don't tell me what you were told.
to read it.
Listen to me. Don't tell me what you were told. That's hearsay.
And
listen to me. He says, as far as his ex is concerned, one day the sun will die and the night will crawl. Until then, until I see your world implode, I wish you death and suffering, misery to spare. To my ex, you know who you are. Right?
I called him right after I read that, and I said, what is this about? He said, oh, I didn't mean to hurt you. I said, you wrote that, yet you didn't mean to. How could that not hurt me?
Ms. Smith, you have to understand what slander is. Slander is something that you say that is not true about somebody in a way that they can be identified. For instance, if he said, my ex, Jennifer Smith, has the following diseases, so everybody better stay away from her, and that's not true, then you can sue him for slander. I'm speaking, you're not listening. That's slander. If he wrote you a letter, and in the letter said to you, I wish you had a slow, painful death, and I was there to watch. I wish you suffer and get a vile disease. And he wrote that to you in a letter. That's not slander. That's the way he feels. That's protected speech. If you wrote this, I assume you did. He's entitled to do that.
It is slanderous, though, because at the top of it, it says, I just left someone who did nothing but use me for my money, and when she was done, she went and found someone new to do the same to them. My current boyfriend was hesitant about even talking to me because of that, because he assumed that because he stated it, that...
Listen to me. Who showed your boyfriend this?
I did.
Listen, I would like to... Listen to me. I want you to kiss the ground. You got the ring back, and that you're moving on with your life, because she's not wrapped too tight. You got it? Good. But you can't scratch her CDs, because that's childish. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
That you got to give her $150 for. The rest of your stuff is nonsense. What'd you do with the ring, by the way?
Threw it in a lake.
Attaboy.
Christina Smith claims ex-boyfriend Gerald Ware Jr. owes for his share of a cruise vacation, utility bills, and a loan to retain an attorney.
Ms. Smith, you and the defendant dated for a period of time and signed a 6-month lease together in August of 2006?
That is correct.
How long had you been dating before you decided to move in with him?
I met him in March, so I was dating under 6 months.
I ask that not because it's particularly relevant, but I'm conducting my own sociological study. I want to see how quickly it is that people make this
mistake.
Right.
Yes.
In any event, your lawsuit says that you moved in August.
Yes, August 5th.
And you moved out in?
September 25th.
Right, so the living together at least saved you a bad marriage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Good. It is your claim that Mr. Ware is responsible for half of a cruise that you booked with his consent and his agreement to pay for half of the trip. It was a non-refundable amount of money. It was $2,000, $1,000 for you, $1,000 for him, which, of course, he didn't go on.
Correct.
Because the cruise was scheduled for...
October 7th, excuse me.
Did you take anyone else with you?
No.
So you had the cabin all by yourself?
I sure did.
So let's deal with that first. You moved in August. Things started to go downhill right away. I don't have to know the why. It was not good. You were both not unhappy with the separation. Is that right?
Yes.
You moved out, but you continued to pay the rent. Your half of the rent.
I did.
Does she still continue to pay her half of the rent?
Up until December.
I think she's a princess. And you continued to live there?
Yes, I did.
All by yourself?
And my kids, when I had them for visitation, yes, I did.
Well, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So you had a great place to live. Are you still living there?
Until January 6th.
And then what happens?
I received a 30-day notice.
Why?
Because she didn't pay her, as it states in this letter, she didn't pay for December's rent.
Why didn't you pay?
I paid my half.
Why didn't you pay the whole thing?
Because I have a written agreement from her that says that she would pay the half as long as I
I'm
didn't
telling
have
you,
a room.
if she's paid September, October, and November, and she hasn't lived there, and you've lived there with your kids, so how old are you?
Me, 37.
Why don't you take care of your own responsibilities? Where are you going after January? They gave you a 30-day notice. Where do you intend to go?
Oh, I'll find a place. No, none in mind right now.
What do you mean you have none in mind?
Oh, I'm looking.
How much rent do you pay?
$675.
Is that the entire rent?
No.
Or just your half?
That my half.
Okay. When you moved in to that apartment, where had you been living just prior to that?
With my boss, as well as Christina.
With your boss?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a cabinet installer.
And you lived in your boss's house?
Yes, I did. As well as he's a friend as well.
Before you lived with your boss, where did you live?
I lived with my friend, me and a friend named Brian.
And when you lived with Brian, how much rent did you pay?
About $300 a month because it was just for a room.
How many children do you have?
2.
How much child support do you pay?
The child support is, my son is not legally mine. I accepted that responsibility when he was born, and after she went after his real father for child support, so they dismissed that court order, and for Bella it's $246, I think it is.
How much child support do you pay?
$246.
He doesn't pay child support.
When was the last time you paid child support, Mr. Ware?
It's been a couple of years because my ex-wife put a letter in. She said that when she required me to pay child support, that I didn't see the kids regularly, so she wrote a letter to the district attorneys in Sacramento County.
That's hearsay. I just asked you a simple question. When was the last time you paid child support? You said several years ago.
Yeah.
You just told me that you used your apartment, sir, this apartment that you were living in and having half the rent paid by the plaintiff for both yourself and your children when you had them. So clearly you were seeing your children within the last 3 or 4 months.
Yes.
But you haven't been paying child support.
No.
Is this your boss?
Yes, it is.
How did I know that? Are you paid on the books or off the books?
On the books. I'm 1099.
And how much was your 1099 last year?
I didn't work for him last year.
Yes, he did.
Mr. Ware, he doesn't even want to stand up anymore and get involved with this, sir. Did you file tax returns last year?
No, I did not.
You just told me you lived with your boss last year before you moved in with her.
Last year.
What's your last name, sir?
McWee, ma'am.
You want to leave now?
No, ma'am.
You might want to rethink that. You get me? So you're paid in cash and you don't pay taxes and you don't pay child support. You're supposed to pay your own rent.
I did. My half.
Well, you didn't pay, no, your own rent. Listen to me, Mr. 37 years old. You live in this country. You work for him. You're supposed to pay taxes like everybody else, which you don't do. You have children, 2, or maybe just 1. They come to visit you, and yet you have no fiscal responsibility for them. The rest of her lawsuit is, she says, A, she made a small loan to you for a lawyer. I'm not so interested in that, $199. But she said that you had no credit. Well, the reason you have no credit is because you allegedly have no income. So that she put all the utilities in her name. She put all the utilities in her name, left them in her name because she had no credit, and you didn't pay the bill, even when she was paying her half of the rent. Sir?
I was giving her half my check. She went over to my boss's house and received money from them.
You mean after she moved out?
After she moved out?
I'm talking about after she moved out.
After she moved out, I told her she threatened to turn everything off. I told her to go ahead and turn everything off.
Oh, she should have.
So?
And she didn't.
And she didn't.
And did you turn the lights on?
I
Listen to me. Did you turn the lights on?
Yes, I did.
Did you turn the stove on?
Yes,
did you
I did.
plug in a coffee maker?
Yes, I did.
So you used the juice. When you use the juice, you have to pay for it. Did you use the telephone?
Yes, I did.
If you use the telephone, you have to pay. If you're an American citizen and you use the roads and you use the other services that the government provides, you have to pay taxes. How much were your electric bills and service bills after you moved out? I'm talking about just for him.
Yes, the dish bill came to $292.23. I actually put a passcode on there around October 20th when I found out there was adult movies rented on there.
He had to do something to keep himself occupied. Next.
Sure West bill was $260.14.
Is that it?
Yes, and if you're not going to do the attorney bill.
No. $552, rounding it out, Bird. Thank you. Is that right?
Yes.
No sense. Good. $552. Now, let's talk about the cruise, Mr. Ware. You told her to go ahead and book the cruise?
A cruise was planned before I met her. We had been talking about it amongst friends before she moved in, and her sister is a friend of my boss.
Did you tell her to go ahead and book the cruise?
No, I did not.
That's not what you said here, sir.
My boss's wife booked
That's not what you said here, sir, in your answer. Just because you broke up doesn't mean that you don't pay for half the cruise. You pay for half the cruise. What?
In order to get the cruise, you have to do double occupancy.
Don't speak to me sitting down.
Sorry, ma'am. We told them both prior to this going that if anything happened, that you have to pay double occupancy to get on this cruise in order to get all the cabins together. So I said, if something happens, you can't change it, you can't get the money back, and they were both aware of that.
You made that clear to both of them?
Correct.
Terrific. Thank you. You can sit down.
I gave Gerald every opportunity to go on that cruise.
Listen, it happens. He's got to pay for half the cruise because you're out the money. Do you understand?
No, I don't, but...
Well, it's very, very easy, sir. There's no way that you wanted to go on this cruise, and there's no way that you were going to share a cabin together. Somebody was going to go on the cruise. Now, it is my sense that if you said to her, I will give you the $2,000, I will go on the cruise instead of you, she would have said, great. No. She would have said to you, great. You go on the cruise, and I won't. But right now, she had $2,000 invested in this cruise, and she hadn't seen a penny from you.
Yes, she had, ma'am.
Oh, really? You paid for some?
I was giving her all my checks that I was receiving from him.
Checks?
To pay for,
Listen to me.
well, cash, to pay for credit card bills that were outstanding when we met.
We're not talking credit card bills, sir. We're talking about the cruise.
That's how the cruise was paid, on credit card.
How much money were you giving her?
I was receiving $500 a week.
In what?
In cash.
I love it when a game plan comes together. Just think of it this way, sir. It's your contribution to taxes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,552.
Judge,
That's all.
I have some joy. I want to get back to his daughter.
Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
Allison Abushan claims her ex-boyfriend, Christopher Wilson, owes for the down payment on a truck. Allison also claims Christopher overdrew their shared bank account.
Thank you, Bert. Ms. Abushan, how long were you and the defendant together as a couple?
About 5.5 months.
Did he move in with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you meet him?
I met him when I was finishing college in Kentucky. He then moved back with me to Minnesota.
Mr. Wilson, when you moved back with Ms. Abushan to Minnesota, what were you doing for a living, sir?
I got down there and I started work for DirecTV.
In what month did you move to Minnesota?
It was 2 days before Christmas.
So let's say January. And when did you get the job with DirecTV?
It was about a month after Christmas.
February?
Yes.
How long did you have the job?
Until I come back to Kentucky.
And when was that?
In the middle of March.
Well, then you weren't working very long, sir.
Right.
Who was supporting you?
My parents would send me money, help me out.
I'm talking about her. Was she supporting you?
It'd go either way. I had money, too.
Where did you have money from?
My parents, like I say, they would send me money.
How old are you, Mr. Wilson?
I'm 23. I'll be 24.
If I let you.
I hope you'll let me.
All of these things, my questions have a reason, Mr. Wilson.
Okay.
This is your complaint. You foolishly, very foolishly, put a down payment on a truck or
Yes, Your
something
Honor.
for him. And there was an agreement that he was going to pay you back for it because he didn't have any what?
Transportation or money.
Because he didn't have any money.
Right.
Otherwise, he would have put the down payment on his own truck. So evidently his parents, because he acknowledges that you put the down payment on the truck for him, right? I read your papers.
Correct.
And if you had money of your own, then you wouldn't have needed money from? You're smarter than you look, sir. Now, 2 weeks after you bought him this truck, he goes back to Kentucky to deal with some legal issues, according to him, having to do with his child.
That ended up being
I'm
false.
speaking.
Excuse me.
And his child said, oh, Daddy, don't leave. So he decided to leave and dump you and go back to the mother of his child and his child, because he couldn't say no to his baby. And he kept your truck. That's after 2 weeks.
Yes,
and how
ma'am.
much did you lay out?
$3,500.
You know, your looks are deceiving, sir. What?
$3,500, Your Honor.
No. There were also payments due on this truck.
Yes, Your Honor.
He moved back in the middle of March to Kentucky. Did he make the March payment on the truck?
No, ma'am, he did not.
I see, shh, just a second. I see a whole lot of blank space on your table, Mr. Wilson. You say in your answer that you made the truck payments. You left, according to you, the second week in March. Show me the March payment that you made.
I ain't got no evidence of nothing. She come and got the truck without my knowledge, right in the middle of the day.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You have evidence, sir, because you would have proof that you made the truck payment in March.
Nothing was due. There was no payments due on that truck.
I have a check, Your Honor.
We just had purchased that truck. Like I say, we just had purchased
You mean
that
you
truck.
purchased it, they made you a gift?
No, it's not a gift. It wasn't. There was no payments due on it.
When was the first payment due?
Whenever we bought the truck, like 3 weeks before. And I hadn't had a chance to pay the payment on it because she come and got it.
You didn't have a chance.
Exactly.
Your Honor, I have a check for
Can I see it,
March.
please?
Yes, ma'am. My mother wrote it out of account that we had shared together, my mother and I, to make the payment. After he was delinquent on that payment, that's when we chose to go down there for the sake of my credit. and
Just
get
a
it.
second.
Yes, Your Honor.
We do this according to the way I run this playpen, okay? Check is dated the 21st of March, so I assume for $271.75. You don't have another check that you made, do you, sir?
No.
In March? No. No. Then you went down because he didn't make the payment. And very wisely, I might add, decided not to be involved with this man anymore because now your credit is on the line because there are payments due on this car.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you and your mom, according to your papers, went down and repossessed the car.
Yes.
And sold it.
Yes.
Sold it at a loss.
Yes.
And what you want is the money that you spent on him for this truck. How much did you sell the truck for?
Sold the truck for $10,500. Had $11.86 left on the truck to be paid.
All right, so what's the deficit?
About $1,300.
Okay. That's a cheap lesson. Now, when, Ms. Aubuchon, when you went down to repossess the truck, did you give him any notice that he had the opportunity to make up any of these?
Yes, Your Honor. I asked him if he would please return the truck to me. I even offered to buy him a plane ticket back to Kentucky from Minnesota if he would do that.
And what did he say to you?
He said, I'll do it, and then he would not call me back. I wouldn't be able to get a hold of him for several weeks at a time.
When did you first call him?
I called him.
Mr. Wilson, this smirk is irritating. Go ahead.
I was explaining this to him about a week after he left once I realized that he would not be returning.
When he left to go to Kentucky?
Yes.
When did he notify you that he would not be coming back?
It was about a week after he left. He told me that he wasn't going to be coming back due to his baby and missing his family. At that point, I said, I'll give you the opportunity to make the truck payment. If you do not, it will be going against my credit as well, and I will have to retrieve the truck.
And when did you have the discussion with him?
That discussion with him was had about a week after he...
Which was when?
It would have been the very end of February, first week of March. I also have credit card charges, Your Honor, which would indicate when he returned back to Kentucky.
I'd like to see them, please. Now, the second part of your claim is that he overdrew a joint checking account that you had. And quite frankly, I'm far more interested in that than this truck problem because
Yes, Your
the
Honor.
truck was an unfortunate exercise for you.
Right.
You got most of your money back.
Right.
The $1,300 is probably a reasonable lesson that you'll never do it again.
Well, the
But
down
I'm-
payment I never got back.
The down payment you did get back, madam. When you sold it, if anything, there was one payment due. I mean, it was a wise thing for you to do. Otherwise, you would have been responsible for the whole thing. But no bank would have gone after him after
But
a
I
week.
gave him the opportunity to
No bank
pay
would
the...
have gone after him after a week. And in all probability, he would not have made these payments. There's no question he wouldn't have made these payments from a moral perspective. But from a legal perspective, if you own a car and you finance it, and if you're 4 days late with a payment, they do not come after you and repossess the car. They don't do it.
Right.
Let's hear about the money in your checking account.
Okay. We opened this joint checking account because I was supporting Mr. Wilson. I gave him a card of his own. Once he started making money, his checks were going to be directly deposited into that account so that we could pay bills together, so on and so forth. When he left, that account was emptied. I foolishly did not
just
close
a second.
it.
When he left, the account was emptied by you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And how much was in the account?
At the time, there was about $1,500 in the account.
Okay. And at the time, Mr. Wilson had been working for about a month.
Correct.
How much money did you put into the account, Mr. Wilson?
Probably about $700.
Okay, fine. And then, according to the plaintiff, Mr. Wilson, you made charges against her bank credit for $2,000. Why did you do that, sir?
I don't think I made that much.
Why did you make any?
I don't think I made about maybe $300, and I figured my money was in there.
Well, let's see how much money. How much money did he charge on the debit card?
I believe the total is about $2,300.
Not about. Figure it out, because then you're going to show it to Mr. Wilson. You need a calculator?
I may need a calculator. There's quite a bit.
Stand over next to her while she's adding this up so you save me a little bit of time, Mr. Wilson. Listen to me, Miss Aubuchon.
Thank you. Yes, Your Honor.
Show him the charge, add it on the calculator. Press on.
Okay.
I know enough about the machine to know they have to press on.
This is the ladder. This is the advance for credit card for food and gas when you left town, food and gas in Kentucky, when you ordered stuff in order to set up your new business in Kentucky, more food and gas, and the Dell computer.
And what do we have as a total?
We have $2,130, I believe.
5 cents on your computer.
This is wrong. That was the
Go,
difference.
step back over and don't be a smart mouth. Can I see it, please?
Sure.
Give me the computer. Let him stand right there next to you. Just
Okay. So unless the decimal is in the wrong place, it should be about $1,595 that I've now added up. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, Mr. Wilson, you've gone over those charges. That should be your computer in Kentucky, your business in Kentucky, the food and gas in Kentucky. Gone over those charges?
Yes.
Is that right? $1,595?
I don't think so.
Well, how much is it, sir? Here, just a second. Let's do... You add it.
I don't need no calculator. I mean, I really don't.
No, listen to me. Then add it up in your head. Add it up in your head. What?
600.
No. Add up those figures, sir. Give the piece of paper to Smartmouth. Read over the figures that she just added, sir. Come on.
Well, at the time, you know, from Minnesota, Kentucky.
Listen, from Minnesota to Kentucky, give me the charges. Let's go.
Let me see your calculator then. This calculator ain't right.
Can I have the calculator, please? I've been using it for 11 years. Okay. Now, what I want you to do, Miss Aubuchon, this is a challenge. I want you to say the charge, tell me what it was for, and the amount.
Okay. There was a ladder charged at Menards, $220.85.
Don't give me any change.
Okay.
Just round it out to the last
Yes, Your
dollar.
Honor.
$225?
Yep. Advance from credit card, $150. Skywalker Communications, $175. Food and gas in Kentucky, $50. Advance from credit card, $1,000. I'm sorry, I missed that originally. And the Dell computer, $807.
Where's the computer, sir?
I sent it back whenever she notified me about it.
Send it back to whom?
Dale, a long time ago.
Is there a credit?
I was never credited for that, Your Honor.
You owe her $2,407. You got it? Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,407. Listen, Miss Aubuchon,
Yes,
you
Your
made
Honor.
a mistake.
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't make another mistake.
I won't, Your Honor.
Good. Thank you. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Joseph Grieber says defendant Curtis Prinster damaged his vehicle when he sprayed it with gravel. Curtis is countersuing, claiming Joseph filed false charges with police.
Please.
Mr. Grieber, it is your claim that the defendant purposely vandalized your truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Prinster says that not only didn't he damage your truck, but that you lied to the police and the authorities, and he is counterclaiming because it said it cost him a lot of money, cost him lost wages, cost him hiring an attorney. in order to defend himself against your false accusations. So I'm very curious, Mr. Grieber. I tried to figure out the relationship that you two people have. The best that I could come up with is that you don't like each other because of a girl. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
So why don't you explain your relationship to this girl and Mr. Prince's relationship to the girl?
She was pretty much a neighbor to me.
Just a neighbor?
Yeah.
And what's her name?
Caitlin.
Go ahead.
And she had said that...
Look at me. Don't look at the floor.
Sorry.
Look at me.
She had said that he thought that I was trying to get with her or something like that. And
Okay, so
that's why
Caitlin,
he
your
didn't...
neighbor, who you have no interest in whatsoever,
No, ma'am.
said to you that Mr. Prinster said that you were trying to date her. And
that's the reason he did not like me.
And why don't you like him?
Because he caused damage to my vehicle.
And that's the only reason.
Yes, ma'am.
So why don't you tell me when this happened?
This happened on April 21st, 2006. I was detailing my truck at the Tidal Wave Car Wash in Troy, Missouri, and I just found out my uncle died, so that's the reason I was washing my truck, to keep my mind off of everything. And I was finishing up, just putting all my cleaning materials back in the bed of my truck, and then he came up and parked like kind of behind the back of my truck and got out of his car, and I was walking up to get into my truck, and then he proceeded to get out of his car and say, "Are you ready to do this?" like a man, walking up, trying to antagonize me into fighting.
Yeah.
I told him, you know, hey, I'm not in the mood for this. I found out my uncle just died today. I said, I'm not going to deal with any of this. And
Had you had difficulty with him before?
yes, we have. We had one other incident, and that was actually on my county road. He had come out of where Caitlin lived onto the county road, and I was just turning onto my private drive as he came out on the county road, and he slung gravel down the side of my truck, and then I chased him down and grabbed him by his shirt, and I told him, you know, you do it again, then you're going to pay for it.
You didn't say in your complaint, sir, that you grabbed him by the shirt. You said you grabbed him by the throat.
Okay,
What do you mean, okay, something? There's a difference between grabbing somebody by the shirt and grabbing him by the throat. Unless I misread your statement, sir. I don't think so. I got out and grabbed him by the throat and told him the next time he does that to me and my truck, he's going to get it. Didn't they write a song? Isn't there a country song as I Love My Truck?
Yes, there is.
Right, there is.
Truck driver's prayer.
Yeah, no, I love my truck. Okay, so you got out, you grabbed him by the throat and said...
Next time you do it, you're going to get it. And then...
How much later did this incident happen at the car wash?
Approximately 3 weeks.
Okay. And so now we're at the car wash. You're detailing the car. You're just about finished. You're putting the equipment back in. You're brooding over your uncle's recent demise. He comes up. You said, I don't want to get into this with you now because I'm feeling sad. And then what happens?
He says,
Don't look down. Look at you.
He says, I'm going to beat you. And I said, I'm not in the mood. And then I turned around and went to get in my truck. And as soon as I got in my truck, I heard him slam his car door when he got into his car. And he came up along the side of my truck, parallel with the side of my truck. And it comes down like this into a lot. And it's an asphalt lot. And then there's gravel. And then he come up, because my truck was sitting like that. And then he come up and spun. And when he spun, he slung the gravel, the washed gravel, onto my truck. And almost left. And when he left, he went to Buzzy's Liquor.
How did you know he left and went to Buzzy's?
Because I seen where he went.
How far away is Buzzy's?
It's maybe 150 yards, 200 yards.
Okay, so you could see it from where
Yes.
you were?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what did you do?
And that's whenever I called the Troy Police Department.
Did the police officer respond?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that this police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Just step up, officer. Mr. Mueller, tell me your name, sir.
My name is Wayne Mueller.
Mr. Mueller, you arrived on the 21st of April at this car wash?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what you found when you got there.
Mr. Grieber was extremely upset. He relayed much the same story as he did to you, involving his uncle had just died, and indicated that at that time a green 73 Nova had came aside of his vehicle. There had been a verbal altercation between the two parties. When the green Nova left, he stated that it had spun the tires, spinning gravel into the bedside of his truck. The truck wasn't really applicable due to the colors and lighting. I couldn't take a picture of it. I could feel this damage, and I did observe what appeared to be a 12 to 15-foot acceleration mark going away from Mr. Grieber's vehicle.
What would that indicate to you, sir?
It appeared that a vehicle had definitely accelerated recently because it wasn't covered back over with gravel or debris in any way, and had accelerated away. This would be consistent with the manner that Mr. Grieber advises his vehicle was damaged.
Okay.
Mr. Grieber was upset. The other vehicle was not on scene. I sent the paperwork back with Mr. Grieber. He was unable to give me...
Did Mr. Grieber tell you where the other vehicle had gone?
No, at that time he didn't, ma'am. But he wasn't able to give me a license number or anything at that time.
Was or was not?
Was not, ma'am.
Did he tell you who it was?
Not at that time, no, ma'am.
Did he describe the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he say?
Being a green in color, 1973 Chevrolet Nova.
How long have you been a police officer?
20 years, ma'am.
Wouldn't it be odd if you knew the name of the person who caused damage to your car, not to indicate who it was?
If I may, ma'am.
Yes.
5 days later, he submitted the written statement, and at that time he identified by...
I understand 5 days later. You were going to tell me that. But on the day of the incident...
I found it unusual, too, ma'am, but I had to take into some account his state of mind at that time and his apparent grief.
Well, Officer Mueller, doesn't it sound peculiar to you that he was able to tell you the color and the year of the car through his grief, but not the name of the person who was driving the car?
Not totally, ma'am, no.
That didn't strike you as odd?
Not totally, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Tell me why. It strikes me as odd. Go ahead.
He did indicate this was a subject that he had an ongoing altercation with.
Oh, okay. So at the time you saw him on April 21st, what did he tell you about the person who was driving the green Nova, if he didn't give you his name?
To my recollection, ma'am, he stated that this was a subject. They had had an ongoing altercation. He also indicated, as he had described to you, an indication of an altercation out in the county. He stated that on this date, then, there had been a separate verbal altercation leading to the events as described.
How much after the call did you arrive there?
A matter of minutes, ma'am. We have both the same time. I was called dispatched and time arrived on the report.
But Mr. Grieber didn't tell you that the car was at the liquor store 100 yards away.
He did not, ma'am.
Why didn't you tell him that?
I was extremely upset. I was trying to explain what exactly happened, and then by the time I turned around, and he was not there anymore.
Okay, can I see the report that you did in fact fill out, sir? There? As
Yes,
well
ma'am,
as the one 5 days later?
along with the written statements of both Mr. Grieber and Mr. Prinster.
Okay. Okay, so tell me your version of the events.
The first event, I was leaving work, which is about approximately a quarter mile toward the highway down a county road from his address. And I was leaving work, and as I reached the stop sign, I seen a truck flash his lights and, had his arm out the window, screaming, yelling. So I figured there was something wrong with my car, so I stepped out, opened my door, and I stepped out my car to see what was wrong, and he jumped out with a metal bar, and he said, "You got beef with me because you think me and your old lady dated?" And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about, man, what do you tell you? I'll bust your head with this bar, I'll bust your head with this bar." I just got in my car and left. And about a week later, I believe it was, on the date of the second incident that he's claiming, I was at Tidal Wave Car Wash in the third bay washing my car, and I was just about finished up. I was to the rear of my car, and heard some tires squealing, and I looked back into the parking lot, and it was the plaintiff's truck leaving the parking lot. I didn't think nothing of it. I finished washing my car and left and went to Buzzy's liquor store.
All right, so let me understand this, sir. What you're telling me is that you were at the car wash washing your car.
Yes, ma'am.
You were in the third bay?
Third bay.
When you heard car engine revving?
Tires squealing, yes.
Turned around, you saw it was the plaintiff?
Mm-hmm.
You had no words with him?
No, not that day.
Not that day?
No, ma'am.
Officer called me and asked me about the incident in the Tidal Wave car wash. I was unaware of what he was talking about, but I did see the plaintiff there once. I pulled in and I heard tires squealing. I looked back and he was pulling away. I did not think nothing of it. I proceeded to wash my car and I left. After the incident, I went to Buzzy's liquor store to buy turkey tags. What are turkey tags?
It's a wild game in Missouri. Wild
What?
turkey. Burger, they gobble.
Your Honor, if I may, you have to buy a permit to hunt
Yes.
turkey, a special permit to hunt wild turkey. That's what he was buying.
Thank you. What?
You learn something. You learn something new every day here.
Now, nobody was with you on that day. Is that correct, sir?
No, ma'am. Yeah, that is correct.
And nobody was with you?
No. Okay.
Now, this is the girlfriend?
I'm the wife.
Wife. But she wasn't your wife at the time, is that right?
No, ma'am.
I want you to think very, very carefully, sir.
Okay.
Had your then girlfriend ever told you anything about Mr. Grieber?
Yes, ma'am.
What had she told you, sir?
She had told me that she had been speaking to him.
Look at me.
She had been speaking to him on her cell phone.
What was she speaking to him for?
Not sure. She said that she was talking to him on a cell phone, and he said that he was asking questions about me and had a problem with me, and that
He was asking questions about you, like what?
it's been a very long time. I can't really recall it, but she had stated that she had dated him presently for about 2 weeks, and they had a relationship, and it had been long over with.
Go ahead, and?
That's about it.
So she told you that he was asking questions about you?
Yeah.
And that he had a problem with you?
Yeah.
So, how did you feel about that?
There's been lots of people who have problems with me. If I pursued every one of them, I'd be in a lot of trouble.
Good. Good answer. Not good answer that a lot of people have problems with you. That would be a problem. That a lot of people have problems with you. Now, did you ask your then girlfriend if the plaintiff called her or if she called him?
I don't believe I asked that. I was happily in love. She's my wife now. I mean, I wasn't worried about anything.
Well, that would be a question that I might ask. Who called whom?
I'm not sure. I believe.
Who did call whom?
He called me.
And how did he get your number?
From my mother.
Ah, perfect. Mother, stand up. Remember Mr. Grieber?
Oh, sure.
Mr. Grieber ever date your daughter?
Briefly.
He's a neighbor?
Yes. They've been friends for a lot of years. Rode the bus together, that kind of thing.
Well, if they had been friends, then why would he need you to give him Caitlin's telephone number? Don't speak.
She just recently got a cell phone, so he had called the house looking for her, and I had to give him her cell phone. This would have been in the spring.
Did you have a conversation with your daughter about the conversation that she had with Mr. Grieber?
We've had several conversations about Mr. Grieber, yes. Knew there was kind of, once her and Kurt started dating, I knew there was kind of becoming some issues with Joey and Caitlin. Kind of blowed it off because I thought, you know, it'll pass on its own. Until the incident where they had at the end of the road when Joey had pulled the pipe on Kurt. And then that's when, that evening, Joey's mom called me and wanted to know what was going on with the kids. And I said, well, I'm not real sure, but I do know that Joey pulled a pipe on Kurt. And she says, Joey, did you pull a pipe on Kurt? And I could hear him in the background saying, you're effing right, I did. I pulled a pipe on him, blah, 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 blah.
You left that out of your story. You don't want me to call your mother, do you? You left that out of your story, Mr. Grieber.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Why?
I was trying to get everything right, and
You were trying to get everything right? That's not a good thing to get things right by leaving out the fact that you got out of your truck with a pipe. Mr. Grieber, did you tell that to the police officer?
no, I didn't. There was not a statement written on that incident.
Oh, well, just a minute. You had told the police officer you had had a prior incident with him. Did you tell the police officer that you threatened him with a dangerous instrument?
No, I did not.
He didn't, did he?
No, ma'am, although that would have occurred in another venue besides where we were. But yes, ma'am, I still have
I
the
don't care, officer, because it sounds to me as if there were two incidents. One of those incidents involved a dangerous instrument and a threat involving a dangerous instrument. He left that out.
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know about that before?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Grieber, you also left out the fact that you had had a social relationship other than just being friends with Caitlin.
No, ma'am, I didn't. I have never had a relationship with her besides a friendship. My cousin has had a relationship with Caitlin. I have not.
Ever take her to the movies?
No, ma'am.
Ever take her out to dinner?
No, ma'am.
Ever kiss her?
No, ma'am.
Now,
We've went fishing, rode around town together, partied together. We've had a relationship.
well, I'm talking about you could do that as a friend, or you
We
could do that as
kissed.
more than friend.
More than a friend.
Did you ever have an intimate relationship with him?
Yes.
It ended when?
We started beginning of May, ended about the end of May.
Yes.
Could I have her clarify intimate relationship with him?
Sure. Go ahead.
It was intimate.
Sounds to me as if you have more of a problem.
No, I've never dated her. Never done anything with her besides fishing and stuff like that.
Now, you said you looked at this truck, didn't see anything, but you felt something. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, let me ask you this question, officer. There was no way of you ascertaining when these gravel things happened on his truck, is that right?
As reflected in my report, yes, ma'am, there's no way.
Could have happened a couple of weeks before during the incident that he discusses, at least in his complaint and his report, when they met on the road and he got out of his truck with a metal pipe.
Yes, ma'am.
As a matter of fact, he says in the first incident not the one that you reported on. Of course, he had a bad attitude towards me, and he purposely spun gravel from the road, spraying the side of my truck. I got out, grabbed him by the throat, and told him the next time he does that to my truck, he's going to get it. Left out the pipe. So it's possible that any damage from gravel could have occurred in that incident a couple of weeks before. Is that right?
It's possible, yes, ma'am.
What happened at the hearing, officer?
There wasn't one, ma'am. What had occurred, and then again at the hearing, Mr. Grieber was given the option of proceeding criminally, which was his choice at that time. Prior to this, the prosecutor, and I feel rightly so, advised him, due to the standard of evidence being lower in civil court, that he may have better success in civil court. At that time, he asked me whether I would testify on his behalf were it to go to civil court. I'd given my word that I would, hence we're here.
If he had told you the whole story, you would have been a happier camper.
By far, ma'am.
Other than today, sir, have you ever told anybody that you threatened Mr. Prinster with a dangerous instrument?
The day that all of it went down, I had told my mother that.
Other than telling your mother, did you ever tell any other authority?
No, ma'am.
Did Mr. Prinster contact the police when you threatened him with a dangerous instrument?
No, ma'am.
You think he could have?
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't. And you had no basis to threaten him with a dangerous instrument. Is that a fair statement, Joey?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay to the lawyer?
I have a copy of a check for $380. $350, sorry.
What other expenses did you have?
One expense was time off work, you know, lost wages, and I forgot to put a paycheck stub in here. So that's
How many days did you take off from work?
see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 different court dates for the city court, plus one that I had to take off recently to gather the information to fight this case.
7 days. And how much do you earn a day, sir?
At that time, $80 a day.
What kind of work do you do?
Did concrete then, and I do concrete now.
Mr. Grieber, I am not persuaded by your case that on the date that you allege, which was the 21st of April, 2006, that Mr. Prinster damaged your car, so I'm dismissing your claim. I am, however, convinced that when you filed this claim and you told the police a story about what happened, you left out some very vital details. And one of the vital details was that you had threatened grievous bodily harm to the defendant, and that was either a week or 3 weeks before. I also believe that you've been less than candid with me with regard to the relationship that you had with Caitlin.
There was no
I am
relationship.
awarding the defendant on his counterclaim $910, and your claim is dismissed. That's all. Thank you.
All you are excused. You may step out.
28-year-old Monique Simmons is suing her ex-boyfriend, Bruce Melton, for loans she made him to pay his rent and 2 bail bonds.
Ms. Simmons, the defendant is your former boyfriend, according to your complaint a while ago, over a year ago. You made him a series of loans.
Correct.
And you want your money back.
Correct.
And Mr. Melton says that you did, in fact, give him money. You gave him money for rent once. You bailed him out of jail a couple of times. But that's what you did because you were in a relationship. There was never any discussion of paying you back. Those were gifts. Is that right, Mr. Melton?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the first time, Mr. Melton, that Ms. Simmons gave you money?
Actually, when I moved into my apartment, she helped buy stuff for my apartment, like bath, shower tiles, and some dishes and things. So
Oh, well, that was very nice of her.
Yeah.
Those were clearly gifts because she's not even talking about that in her
Right.
complaint. She's talking about cash money.
Well, she paid my rent for me
When did she pay your rent for you?
around August, I believe.
And why did Miss Simmons have to pay your rent?
She didn't have to pay anything, Your Honor. She did that on her own accord.
Well, tell me how that happened, Mr. Melton.
Because I had moved my apartment. I was drawing unemployment at the time, and then my unemployment ran out. And I was searching for a job. I'm a student at Eastern University, and I was going to school.
How old are you?
I'm 38.
What are you studying?
Actually, it's called Board of Trustees Bachelor's.
You mean when you graduate, you go on a board?
No, Your Honor, that's what the degree is called, a Board of Trustees Bachelor's degree.
I never heard of that. Mr. Melton, why don't you try to explain to me what that is?
It's a continuing education degree for students.
Do you actually go to school? Or is
Yes,
it
I do, Your Honor.
You go to a classroom.
I go to
It's not
class.
a virtual classroom.
No, ma'am, Your Honor. I go to class on the weekends.
And how do you support yourself otherwise?
Well, at the present, I'm working, Your Honor. I'm a chef.
What were you doing in August of 2004?
I was getting unemployment until it ran out.
It usually takes about a year before it runs out.
No, ma'am, Your Honor. In Champaign, it takes 6 months.
When did you move into your apartment, sir?
May of 2004.
So you moved into your apartment, sir, while you were on unemployment?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Well, that seems like a foolhardy thing to do, sir.
Well, if you don't mind, I'll explain, Your Honor. I was married, and me and my wife got separated. So I left her the house and moved out into the apartment.
All right, you moved in May, and you were still collecting unemployment.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Were you halfway into your unemployment, sir?
I got my unemployment in May. It started coming in May.
Well, then you still had your unemployment in August, when you took money for her for rent.
Your Honor, I didn't take anything from her. What she did on her own. I never asked her to do it.
I didn't ask you that, sir. I said in August you were still collecting unemployment and you took money from her for rent. Now, whether it was a loan or a gift, my words were accurate, sir. I did not go to school on weekends. You took money for rent at a time when you were still collecting unemployment.
Oh, because I was getting unemployment, yes.
There we go. That was for your benefit.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Tell me about August of 2004 when you paid his rent.
Well,
how much did you pay?
$290. And then in September, he again asked me to loan him money for the full amount, and that was $475.
Now, you are the mother of 3 children.
Correct.
What do you do for a living?
Right now, I'm working at a factory.
What were you doing in August of 2004?
I was a student.
And who was supporting you?
I was receiving a fellowship from school.
Where's the father of your 3 children?
He's still in town.
Does he support the children?
Yes.
They're still married, Your Honor.
Did I ask you for any editorializing?
No, I just wanted to share that statement.
Don't share anything with me unless I ask you a question, Mr. Melton. So between your fellowship and the child support you receive, you gave him money for September's rent and for half of August's rent.
Correct.
Not Swift.
I know that now.
Now, when was the next time you gave him money?
Actually, in August, I loaned him money to pay 3 loans that he had.
You have checks for that?
Yes.
How much was it?
One was for $115, one was for $113, and one was for $63.
Those amounts sound familiar to you, Mr. Melton. She's got checks.
She has checks, but the thing is, I never asked her to pay
I didn't
anything.
ask whether you asked her. I'm just asking you whether that was paid on your behalf.
Well, it was a gift on her behalf.
Listen to me. I didn't ask you that.
Okay.
Was the money paid on your behalf?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now, you're divorced?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
You weren't divorced in August of 2004.
And neither was she.
I didn't ask you that. Don't be a wise mouth,
I'm
sir.
not trying to be.
Then just answer my question. Then we'll get along just fine.
Okay.
I don't find you particularly attractive, sir. Maybe she did, I don't.
Okay.
You get it.
I hear you, Your Honor.
Good. This is not going to be a happy time for you, Mr. Melton. I suggest that you stop laughing. What children do you have?
I have 3, Your Honor.
Now, do you give them any money?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
How much money do you give them?
Well, I
Well
have
is
to
not
pay
an
child
answer.
support now, Your Honor, and it's
What?
$365 a month.
Do you pay it?
Yes, I do.
No. You don't pay it, Mr. Melton. But let's suppose you did pay it. Let's say you did pay it. And let's say you found out that your ex-wife had a boyfriend, and she gave her boyfriend $365 a month. How would you feel about that?
First of all...
No. Not first of all, second of all, third of all. I just gave you a storyline.
Well,
you pay your ex-wife for your support of your 3 children the paltry sum, if you pay it, of $365 a month, and somebody tells you, and you confirm, that your wife has a boyfriend, and she gives the boyfriend $365 a month. And my question to you, Mr. Melton, is, how would you feel about that?
As long as it ain't my money, I don't care what she do.
It was your money.
Well, I don't know if it was mine or not. As long as my kids have what they need, it does not matter to me because I have no relationship with her.
Fine. Mrs. Melton out there, listen carefully. You can do whatever you want with Mr. Melton's money.
She knows that.
He doesn't care because he probably doesn't pay you. But when he starts paying you, you can do whatever you want with the money. Now, you get a financial aid check, sir?
Yes, I do.
You're 38 years old.
Yes, I am.
And you're going to be a trustee when you grow up. Is that right?
I'm going to be a trustee. I'm going to be on the board of trustees.
Now, you paid bail for him. What kind of charge?
DUI and driving under revoked license.
And what month was that in?
October of 2004.
That's your problem. Because if you're dumb enough to give him all this money in August, Then he calls you and says, I'm in jail. Come and bail me out. That's your problem.
Well, he told me
Now,
that.
just to say, I don't care what he told you. That's your problem. You're a student, got 3 children, so you should be smarter. Put your hand down. Then you had him arrested for domestic violence, correct?
Correct.
And you bailed him out again.
Correct.
That's your problem. Stupid does not get rewarded.
I just need to say one thing, Your Honor, if it's possible.
Are you going to pay me a compliment, Mr. Melton?
I think you are one of the finest judges on the land. Now, may I say
You
something?
are the man, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,056. That's all.
Taylor Davy claims ex-roommate Camelia Hansen owes for rent and bills. Camelia is countersuing, claiming Taylor and another roommate stole her clothes.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 76 on the calendar in the matter of Davy versus Hansen.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a
Who are
seat.
the 3 roommates? Raise your paws. Very good. Ms. Davy, according to your complaint, you, this young lady, and this young lady decided to lease an apartment together. You signed the lease for how long?
Till August 10th, 6 months.
And you were going to share the rent?
Yes, we were going to split it 3 ways equally.
According to your complaint, you moved in February 2000 and?
We moved in the last week of January 2007, and...
But the rent started in February.
Well, we paid a little extra for the last week. We paid $100 extra.
All right.
Well, I did.
That's not, I never knew anything about that. Okay.
So, your complaint alleges that Miss Hansen did not pay her rent for February and did not pay her rent in March.
Right.
And then you did what?
She called me one night asking to get into the house, and I was busy. I wasn't at home, so I didn't let her in, and I told her that I wasn't going to let her back into the house until she paid me the money that she owed me.
So you locked her out?
Well, she was locked out. I didn't try to intentionally lock her out. She didn't offer to come pick up a key to get into the house, and I knew she could...
that's something I don't quite understand. You have an apartment, there are 3 of you on the lease, and only 2 keys. Who wants to explain to me why there were only 2 keys? Yes.
There were only 2 keys because we were the only ones on the lease. Brittany wasn't on the lease.
And there's no way that you could have made a 3rd key?
We could have, but I just let Brittany use my key because she was working late one night and she needed to get in, and I was at my boyfriend's house.
Why didn't you go to a locksmith and make a 3rd key? I don't understand that. How?
I don't know. We could have done that, but didn't.
Anyway.
So we didn't have
locked her
the
out.
3 keys.
You
She
locked
was
her
locked
out.
out.
You locked her out, and now you want your rent.
Yeah, she owes me
Fine.
for 2 months of
Okay.
rent.
Now, Ms. Hansen says that she told you that she could not afford February's rent, and then she was going to pay you in March, but you locked her out first. But it was at the
Actually,
beginning
Your
of March.
Honor-
That didn't require an answer.
Well,
I'm speaking.
that statement was incorrect.
Well, I said what she said happened is this. So now you have to be quiet. You have to sort of dust out the cobwebs. Now I'm telling you what her defense is. Do you understand?
I do.
She has a counterclaim. She says that you locked her out but took her property, took her clothes. And she can prove that because some of the clothes that belong to her you are wearing on a website on the internet.
Not Taylor, Brittany was.
Brittany, one of whatever. And she wants her clothes back.
That doesn't
Now,
have anything to do with me.
that also didn't require an answer. How old are you?
I'm 19.
Was that a question or an answer?
An answer?
And what do you do for a living?
I waitress and cook at the World Cafe.
And what do you do, Miss Hansen?
I work at a coffee shop.
And you?
I'm front desk clerk at the Holiday Inn.
How old are you?
19.
19.
You moved out when in March?
The very first week of March.
Give me the date.
I think it was the 2nd.
No, it wasn't. No.
No, I think...
No, let's not play with each other. You didn't pay March's rent on the 1st. You didn't pay March's rent on the 2nd. When did you call her and tell her you wanted to get into the house?
It was the first Thursday of March, so...
I have down that happened on the 7th of March.
Sounds right.
Okay, well then I was mistaken.
Not the 1st or 2nd. So you lived there 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Why didn't you pay March's rent?
Because the rent was due on the 6th. And I told her that I couldn't give her March rent until like that weekend because
Why?
Because my mom was giving me money for it because I didn't have a job at the time, and my mom got
Why
paid
did you
that
move into
weekend.
an apartment if you didn't have a job?
Because they needed me to be on the lease to get the apartment.
Well, they
because
did. Listen
Brittany
to
couldn't
me,
get on the
Miss
lease.
Hanson. Miss Hanson. They don't need an unemployed teenager to sign on the lease. Listen to me carefully. They don't need an unemployed teenager to sign on a lease in order for a landlord to say, oh, now they're really responsible because we have 3 teenagers, only one of whom has a job, maybe. That's not why they needed you to sign on, unless you had a job.
No, not the leasing company needed me to sign on. Taylor needed me to sign on the lease so she could get the apartment because Brittany couldn't get a co-signer, and I got a co-signer.
Who co-signed for you?
My mom.
Oh,
That's
great.
false.
Perfect.
I wouldn't have been able to get on the lease without a co-signer.
But she forged the co-signers.
That's
so.
not true at all.
Cute. They're cute. They should still be home and under somebody else's roof, but they're cute. Listen, you have to pay rent. You live in an apartment, you have to pay rent.
I totally agree.
Right, so you owe February and March's rent.
I didn't live there for March. She kicked me out at the beginning of March.
You lived there the first week in March.
Then I would have paid her the first week of March, that like day by day that I lived there, but they kicked me out of my house.
No, listen to me. I'm going to get to your counterclaim in a second.
Okay.
You may not be disappointed, but I have to explain to you that when you live in an apartment, you can't be a baby. And if you sign a lease and if you're supposed to pay rent, you say the first of the month you have to pay rent. And you don't take on the responsibility of an apartment unless you can afford it. Are you still living in the apartment?
Yes, I am.
Who lives there?
I found 2 roommates on Craigslist.
Are they okay?
Yeah, they're great.
Where is she living?
Eureka, I believe. California.
Okay, so she left.
Yes. She moved out at the beginning of April.
Okay, did she pay rent in February?
Yes.
Did she pay rent in March?
Yes. Yeah. She didn't pay right then, but she's paid me back.
So you covered it?
Yes.
For both of them?
Well, I covered it at the start of the month because she got her paycheck like the second week or something, so she didn't have it right then.
And what was everybody's share of the rent?
$250.
Okay, now, you're going to tell me about your clothes.
Well, the day that they locked me out, told me that I couldn't come back.
Should have had your own key.
I had my own key. I let Brittany use it.
That's
she
your
didn't
problem.
have her own key.
No, that's your problem. You
Okay.
should have had your own key. Then nobody can lock you out.
I went and got my own key after that, after they locked me out for a day.
Fine, so you went and got your own key, so you weren't locked out.
Yeah, but that day that they locked me out, they told me that they were kicking me out. I couldn't live
Well,
there
they
anymore.
could have told you that, but that's
So
not true. They can't kick you out because you're on the lease.
Well, I didn't want to live there anymore after that anyway because they were
Being rude to you.
Yeah, and they were bullying me.
Okay.
So
you moved
I
out.
went. So I went the next day to get my things, and I had to get a key from the leasing office. And my room had been gone through. Half of my closet was empty. He was there. He can vouch for me. I asked them for my things back. They had put locks on their doors, and they wouldn't give me anything back, and said that they didn't have anything. A couple weeks later, a friend of mine was showing me Brittany's MySpace pictures, and she was wearing my underwear on a photo of her topless and just in underwear, and it was in. They were mine.
You recognized your underpants?
Yeah.
You recognize your underpants?
They're like specialty kind. They're not just like regular white underwear. They're like, you can buy them from like a boutique.
Miss Davy, just for my own edification, did you put a picture of yourself?
Oh, me? No. I don't do that.
Who did? This one?
Brittany.
Raise your hand if you put up a naked picture of yourself.
I'm not naked. In the
What is
picture.
it?
I'm in underwear. They're my underwear. They're not her underwear. I don't know why she.
Why
that's
would you
in
put...
there.
Stand up.
Why would she put underwear?
Please. Why would you put a picture of yourself on the internet in your underwear?
Photography thing. He wanted American Apparel looking pictures, and there was one in my underwear.
Very stupid. Okay? You live to regret that when you're 30, maybe even when you're 25. Have you done anything like that again?
No.
Yes. Before?
No.
Maybe. No. Just once?
No, well, like there was more than one picture, but
Since then,
it's not that big of a deal. I don't think.
It is a big deal. You have to think about what you're doing. There are all kinds of perverts and creepy people out there that sort of surf the internet looking for dumb young girls who put up pictures of themselves in their underwear or worse. Don't do it again.
Okay.
Sit down. You have any other proof that you took your clothes?
I don't really have proof that they took my clothes, but I have a list of some of the clothes that they took, and along with stealing my clothes. They posted things about me on the internet. Like, they made a couple websites about me saying really, really horrible things. They've been harassing me. It's just showing what kind of people they are. They're not good girls. They're not good people. And they stole all my clothing, locked me out of my house, and are harassing me for it.
No, I don't.
I don't know whether she does or whether she doesn't.
I have a pair of Roxy jeans and a pair of Gap jeans that were given to me by her because they were a size 5, which doesn't fit her.
That's not true. I never gave her any clothes.
She wants them back.
She can have them.
They've been denying that they've had anything this
I
whole
haven't
time.
been
Listen to me. I have no time or I have less patience for this. You owe her $500 for rent for February and March. You're going to send her back her 2 pairs of jeans and anything else you might find that belongs to her. Do you get it?
I do.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a happy life.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Charnita Christopher is suing her former friend and child care provider, Vashni Dixon, for her share of money paid to Vashni by the state. Vashni is countersuing for unpaid child care fees.
Miss Christopher, Miss Dixon was a friend of yours.
Yes,
and it is
ma'am.
your claim that at some point she needed some assistance. You needed some assistance with child care, and the state was paying for your child care costs.
Yes,
you engaged Miss Dixon to watch your children with the following arrangement, that she would share those child care responsibilities with your aunt, and then they would split the check. It is your claim that when Miss Dixon got the check, she kept the whole check for herself, and you want half the check so that you can give it to your aunt.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Dixon says that there was no aunt, that she watched the children, but that you wanted her to split the county check. You would keep half, and she would keep half, and she felt that that was very unfair since she had the responsibility of watching the children. She has a counterclaim, and her counterclaim is nonsense. Her counterclaim wants you to pay the difference between what the county paid for child care and what she thinks she deserves for child care, the overage, because that's what it says in the contract from the state. Well, that's not the contract you had with her, Miss Dixon.
When she told me, we made the agreement.
Miss Dixon, that wasn't your agreement that she was going to pay you extra.
She was supposed to pay me $4 an hour. The state was supposed to pay that to tell me that they wouldn't pay all of that. It's her responsibility to pay.
It's not her responsibility.
How is it not her responsibility?
Because I say so. Because that wasn't your contract with her. Now, how many children do you have?
3.
How long have you been receiving child care money from the state for the 3 children?
Approximately a year.
Starting when?
It started again March 27th of 06.
And where were you working in March?
I wasn't working. It was for me to be able to look for employment at that time.
Well, did you find employment?
I found employment July 3rd. I was hired at Glamour Shots.
So you're telling me from March 27th until July 3rd, the state was paying you to look for a job?
Yes.
To watch your children?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she start to babysit for you?
August 7th, 2006.
And where were you working at that time?
I wasn't working.
Well, what happened to the job that you started in July?
Oh, August, Glamour Shots. I'm sorry, Glamour Shots.
Are you still working there?
No, ma'am.
When did you stop working there? It's very easy to find out by calling them. When
August
did you
15th.
stop?
August 15th. I have my check stubs.
All right, so you worked there for a month.
Yes, ma'am.
And why did you leave there?
Because they weren't giving me enough hours.
Well, so you left that job because they weren't giving you enough hours, and you went to a situation where you weren't working at all.
Yes, ma'am. There was a lot of other issues with that job.
So the county wasn't really getting a great bang for their buck by paying for your 3 children for daycare while you're looking for a job, and you had a job for a total of 1 month when you quit because they weren't giving you enough hours. Something doesn't sound right there, Miss Christopher. So she started working August 7th, and now a week later you're not working. So what are you doing when she's watching your children?
Out looking for work.
What does that mean?
I have to go to the workforce center, and they work with me to help me look for work.
Well, how many days a week do you go to the center?
It could be 4, sometimes 5.
Could it be 3?
It depends on what my job counselor...
When did you go to work?
Where did I go to work?
When? First is when?
I have it. I'm looking for work right now. My children are not in child care right now at all.
So she started to work on August 7th. And when did you stop working?
I left her house on September 4th, I believe.
So you were there for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
How many hours a day did you watch the children, or did you live in her house?
She'd leave around maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, and she wouldn't get back till like 8 o'clock at night.
What about this aunt? Do you know anything about an aunt?
I never heard anything about her aunt watching her kids before this.
Where's the aunt?
She's at home.
She's not here?
No.
Well, how do you expect to prove to me that somebody else babysat for your children?
I have the proof.
Show me. What kind of proof are you showing me?
Oh, it's the hours that my aunt kept the children. She typed this up. She has a license.
I don't accept that, Miss Christopher. That's hearsay.
Okay. Well, that's what I have.
Well, your case is dismissed. My dear, she got a check for watching your children. You have no proof that somebody else watched your children. Ridiculous. Case is dismissed, that's all.
Tyrone Smith claims ex-girlfriend Christy Bruffett lied to him about the paternity of her child. Christy is countersuing, claiming Tyrone has been harassing her.
Mr. Smith, it is your claim that the defendant defrauded you and leading you to believe that you were the father of her child. You want attorney's fees and all kinds of compensatory damages. Ms. Bruffett says that you knew all along that you were not the baby's biological father, and she is counterclaiming for harassment and other stuff. I assume that there was a time that two of you were in a relationship.
Yes.
When was that?
2001.
Are you asking me? I wasn't there.
No, it was in 2001.
And when was your daughter born?
My daughter was born January 7, 2001.
Were you together at the time?
Yes.
Yes, we were.
I'm going to go to you. Your answer suggests that Mr. Smith was aware all along that he was not the child's biological father. I'm going to hear your explanation with regard to that.
Yes, he was, Your Honor. We had started dating briefly when we were working together in December.
December of 2000?
Of 99.
December of 99.
Yes. He had left Minneapolis and went to Chicago for what he said would be a brief period of time when we first started dating, in turn being quite a few months.
How many months?
He left towards the end of January of 2000. He did not return until close to the end of April of 2000.
Is that right?
No. Ain't no way Chrissy told me that that little girl was mine, and I signed.
Whether you went to Minneapolis.
No. I was working in Minnesota, so ain't no way I left.
Okay, keep going, Miss Bruffett.
My child was conceived at the very beginning of April by Matthew Moore. When he returned, it was the end of April. He had known of me and Matthew's relationship, but was
Don't tell me what he knew. Tell me what you said to him.
I had told him that I was in a relationship when he had came back from Chicago. Matthew, in turn, towards the end of May, had left and decided he was moving to Florida, and me and Tyrone had started dating again then. But he knew, I told him that I was pregnant before he had came back from Chicago in a phone conversation.
Is that right, sir?
No, ma'am.
Doesn't sound right to me.
No, ma'am.
Keep going.
Okay. Up through the pregnancy, we were together, we were dating, all the way up and through my daughter was born. When my daughter was born, he had told me that throughout the whole time that he wanted to be a father to her. He would be that figure because Matthew was not going to return from Florida. Tyrone had told me that he wanted to be the one to step up to the plate. He would take care of her. We would be together. We had plans on being engaged or being married in the future. He had told me then that he didn't want his family to know he wasn't her father because they already did not approve of me and his relationship.
Yana, okay.
So at that point, we had decided that he was going to be her father figure. When she was born, I had told him that I wanted to leave the birth certificate blank in the case that Matthew were to ever return, and that was only fair. And he said that that wouldn't be viable to his family or mine. We argued back and forth about it.
How did this all play out then after 2001? That's what I want to know. Because right now, the child is 6 years old.
Exactly.
And so I want you to tell me, Mr. Smith, what happened 6 years later that brings you to court today?
Well, I was served papers for child support, and I hired myself a lawyer because I wanted
Who filed the petition for child support?
No,
He did, Your Honor.
she applied for welfare.
No, I didn't,
Child
Your Honor. I
support.
work full-time. I got papers in the mail being served that I was the defendant in a case regarding him taking me to court for visitation. I have to pay child support in our county in order to have visitation with my child. He brought the action, Your Honor. He is the plaintiff on both of these.
Well, there was a motion in Hennepin County for child support.
That was an action that he brought with
He brought
a
an
visitation.
action for what? For child support? To pay child support?
In our
You
county,
brought an
you have
action to
to.
pay child support, sir?
No,
I never heard of that. I've been a judge for a very long time. See, Ms. Bruffett, my problem is he's fighting the child support in this action.
Exactly.
He's fighting it. He doesn't want to pay it. He's saying, listen, I have no money left. You know, I have a 5-month-old baby. I live. Here's my rent. Here's my lease on my apartment. Here's what I earn.
Yep.
I can't afford to pay any more child support, so I don't get the fact that he petitioned the court for child support. Now, why do you keep looking for her, sir?
Ain't nobody looking for Chrissy.
You weren't looking for her?
No.
I have
For what
police reports
reason?
to that effect, Your Honor.
I'd like to see the police report, please. The only indication here that's interesting is he said he wanted to come over to see the child they have in common. And victim, that would be you, advised that he couldn't come over and that he's not supposed to be calling. So he said, I want to come over to see my daughter. And you said he couldn't. You didn't say it's not your daughter.
Ain't no way I called.
Shut.
Okay.
I do also have that actually in a court finding paper that when we were in court in front of a judge for this order for protection 2004, that I was very adamant through all of that she was not his child, and I just wanted him to leave me alone. That's all I've ever asked, is that he just leave us alone.
Sir, what I want to know is why you're here now in 2007 when in 2004 she clearly told you that you were not the father of this child.
Right.
She told you that.
Exactly.
3 years ago.
Yep.
What woke you up now?
What woke me up now was, I don't know, it took
Your
me,
Honor, he
you
has
know,
been harassing me for 6.5 years. This is just another form. I'm sorry.
What woke me up, I don't know.
Well, why don't you say something to try to wake me up, sir? She told you at least 3 years ago. Listen to me. At least 3 years ago.
Right.
At least 3 years ago, she insisted before a judge that you are not the father of the child.
Why she didn't let that be known to the child support people then?
Listen, I don't see any of those papers. I mean, you don't have those papers. What you gave me were papers where, in the matter of the child, you are the plaintiff.
Exactly.
You're the plaintiff, not the county. You're the plaintiff.
Otherwise, Your Honor, he'd have papers to the effect of Hennepin County.
And that's July of 2006.
Exactly.
July 2006.
Listen, if you're going to agree with me once more, I'm going to throw you out and grant this petition. Do you understand? Good. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost too. You got me lost too.
Well, I'm kind of lost too. I mean, you were told by a judge 3 years ago that she says you're not the father of the child. And now you want attorney's fees and court costs and everything else for an attorney that you just hired 3 years later in order to get visitation and have a blood test done, and you want the blood test done. She told you weren't the father.
Yana, I had to hire that lawyer because I didn't have an address. I didn't know how to serve her
Your
her
Honor,
papers.
her address is private from him.
She put an order of protection on me, so ain't no way I can get her address.
Exactly. What did you need her address for?
So she can get served her papers.
What
for
papers?
For
I don't want to hear you. Don't you get it?
Visitation.
You know, I don't think that you're worried about him because you keep interrupting him. You know, if you were cowering and worried about him, as you indicate you are in your answer, then you wouldn't be freely contradicting him. Maybe that'll get you to be quiet. How much support did you pay over the last 6 years for your daughter?
6 years, I just...
Alleged daughter.
How much did I pay? About $1,000.
Show me.
That was my daughter. Ain't no way I'm going to keep a receipt.
Show me.
You know?
Okay.
I did that from the kindness of my heart. You know? Ain't no way I'm going to buy that little girl something and say, I want it back.
No, I didn't say buy her something. I said support. You weren't living together for 6 years. Support.
You got me on that one.
Now, when was the last time, Miss Bruffett, that you alleged that Mr. Smith bothered you?
The last incident was the last job that I had to leave because of him when I filed for that last order for protection
Would you give
in
me the
2004.
date, please?
It was February of 2004.
Well, that's a long time ago. It's over. Put a period. Finished.
Yeah.
Not a good idea, if I believe you, which I'm sort of on the fence about. Not a good idea to insert somebody else's name on a birth certificate that is not biologically related to a child. It confuses the child. Put your hand down. Do you understand?
I do.
Unfair.
I do.
Unfair. Look what happens. She go try to get a kidney from him. And what'll happen when she's 18? Ridiculous. Mr. Smith, you are finally free.
Yes, ma'am. I am.
Thank you.
I am. I dodged the aunt.
And Miss Bruffett would really like you to leave her alone.
Been there, done that. Long time
And
ago.
I think that you're going to leave her alone.
Oh yeah, been there, done that. I got a wife and a son that needs me more than anybody, you know.
Your case is dismissed. It's over. Finished. Put a period. So is yours. Finished. Over. It's dismissed. Goodbye.
Thanks, Your Honor.
The integration of microelectrons in medicine has unleashed a transformative phase in health technology, with the microelectronics device changing the paradigm of medical diagnosis, monitoring, and treatment strategies. Recent developments in semiconductor manufacturing and integrated circuit design have enabled to production of increasingly advanced and extremely precise biomedical devices. This technology advances are particularly important as a healthcare system around the world strive to provide more precise, personalized, and cost-effective patient care. High precision biomedical microelectrons are the forefronts of medical technologies, enabling capabilities ranging from real-time physiological monitoring to target drug delivery system. Their shaking and incorporation of electronic elements enable implement devices direct connect to the biological system on a cell scale. The close interaction of electron system with human biology demands high accuracy, robustness, and suitability for biological tissue. Hence, create specific engineering challenges. The impact of this technology has a limit to their typical medical application. These innovative techniques, from neural implements that restore mobility to paralyze by sensor obstacles. This innovative technology techniques from neural implements that restore mobility to paralyzed by sensor obtained on the microscale that enable early disease detection are changing the way we deliver care through modernized high precaution biomedical microelectrons. This is particularly can tremendously impact patients' outcome as well as their quality of life. However, in spite of tremendous advanced impact patient outcome as well as their qualified to life. However, in spite of tremendous advance in this area, many key obstacles still persuade significant technical challenges still remain, such as optimizing for uses, single integrity, and long-term stability in biological malicious. Moreover, his medical application demands finer control and more detailed physiological information. The push for more accurate sensing and actuation continues. This study explored the role of advanced microelectronics materials in the design and optimization of biomedical system for the consistent improvement of sensitivity, specificity, and reliability in diagnosis and treatment. The new decay of biomedical microelectrons is having a adaptive past along with the capability of increasingly uh, post dedicated medical uses. Advancement in healthcare technologies mean that there is increasing need to have precise and reliable, yet compatible electronic device. These devices are essential to have reliable and precise has reliability. Present them for the faulty in life critical states, and higher precaution makes them more accurate in monitoring and treating physiological parameters. Alternatively, biocompatibility minimizes the risks of adverse
biological reaction and provide seamless integration to the human body. The emergence of technologies like personalized medicines, wearable health technologies, or implantable devices will also generate new tools and knowledge that will have to be included in the microelectrons system that could be tailored to those specific health challenges.